Well, hello everyone. Welcome along to Giants Stadium on this less than beautiful Saturday morning. It's a trial game between the Sydney Swans and the GWS Giants. And I am Russell Barr. We're going to help you through the next couple of hours. We've got 6 quarters of football. We'll probably only show you the first 4 quarters of football. Tom Harley, the CEO of the Sydney Swans, is with me at the moment to talk up the Sydney Swans. Tell us a little bit about the new players. As you can see them all milling around. We're about to get underway. The umpire's in the middle. Morning, Tom.
G'day, Russ. I was out on the park just before the bounce of the ball, and nice to be out on an oval again and to be watching live footy. So really excited to be able to, in effect, kickstart our season against opposition. Clearly all clubs have had to navigate the COVID situation, and we're playing in the Amy series against the Giants again next Sunday. So looking forward to today. Lots of new faces for both sides, and we've had a strong pre-season. I think the Giants have been the same, so we should have a really productive hit out today.
Tom Hickey at the moment about to start things off. He's heading to the scoreboard end, of which we don't actually have on, but we'll certainly keep you up to date. And the Giants heading to the ANZ Stadium end as we're underway, and the 2 new ruckmen in Hickey and also Flynn get amongst it nice and early, and the ball goes to ground. You'd expect a bit of sloppy play as Mills gets the first clearance, goes towards half forward. Heaney takes a nice clean mark. Heaney, off the back of some surgery, drives it long in the Hayward direction. Reed's there as well. Taylor for the Giants, and Papley tries to keep it in. We'll have a boundary throw in close to the posts. Sydney Swans end of the ground. And the new rules, there's only a couple of them, Tom, but it's going to be interesting to see how the man on the mark rule is applied. The umpires have been told to be pretty strict early, so the players are quite used to it. As we see Ward get dumped in a tackle, ball spews out off the deck. Nice Hayward, but it didn't really go too far. It just was marked in defence there by the Giants, and they can clear this now through Kelly, who I understand has been absolutely dynamic in the pre-season. We'll get more from Dave Matthews after quarter time, and also Jimmy Bartell from the Giants board will join us, a premiership player that you played with, of course, Tom, as the Giants try to work this out of their defence through Ash. Handball goes over the top towards the boundary line, and is that off feet? No, it's not, and we'll have a boundary throw in.
There's a nice willing start from both the teams. From a Swans point of view, a few positional changes. You'll note Callum Mills has spent most of the pre-season through the middle of the ground. He got the first clearance. So looking forward to seeing how he progresses his career at the start of the season.
And there's a lovely tap there from Hickey down to Heaney. Goes through to Blakey. Blakey spots up Reed, who should have opened his gob and swallowed that, but that didn't quite happen. In the end, now it's a chance for Cornelio off the right boot to clear for the Giants. Green was good in the air. Comes to ground. Florent, diving mark. Not paid there from Parker, which looked to be okay as... First shot on goal comes from Josh Kennedy, goes wide of all the targets. It's out on the full. A couple of the new guys that we're going to look out for, of course, Tom, you've had plenty of chances to see them. We'll see a lot of the absolute rookies and draft picks later on this morning, but there's 2 or 3 new guys there that in the warm-up that just looked absolutely outstanding. And there's a good mark from Tom Hickey as well. Hickey with a short pass, and this is one of the boys that we're talking about in McDonald. Spills to ground. Florent first there, goes back through Kelly for the Giants, bumped off it by Heaney, and I'll probably see this over the line. So that's the key one we're looking at. Logan McDonald picked up as the first draft pick, 4th on the draft list, kicked 21 goals for Perth in the Waffle, stands at 196. He's an imposing young boy, that's for sure.
Looking forward to seeing Logan play. As you say, Russ come over from Perth, played a lot of senior footy last year at the Waffle. We've got a free kick here. Is it going to
Callum Mills?
Or Sam Reid it might be,
Reid, yeah,
in the ruck contest. No, but Logan, number 6, he's going to wear for the Swans, hopefully for the next 12, 13, 14, 15 years. But he's settled in really well. He's had a year out of school. He's studying commerce over in Perth, and looking forward to big things from him.
Well, this is Sam Reid's Achilles heel. When he's on, and when he misses big time, as he's just done there. But then again, it's only a trial. Nobody's getting paid for this one in terms of points on the board. But it'll be interesting. I note a couple of other young players that maybe had a couple of shots at it last year, which was a great year. The last couple of years have been great for the Swans and for the Giants to sort of blood in the odd player. Young Matthew Ling's one of them, and as the ball goes towards him and in the end comes off the hands of Lloyd. Back to Mills, who's seeing plenty of it nice and early. Spots up Kennedy, who just waited. Ward swooped on it like a seagull on a chip. Gave it off. Hopper does well. Finds a target. That target there was Parker. I beg your pardon, not Parker. Riccardi. He was good last year in his few games that we saw. And now it's with Hopper off the boot of Green outside 50. So Riccardi was a real good find for the GWS Giants goal kicking forward. Got a huge hoof on him as Hopper just sets it up. Top of the square, players fly. Off the deck, there was a chance there for the Giants. And that might have been through to Ball, but didn't quite get his boot to Ball. Keefe's in there as well. Now it comes out through Himmelberg, I should say, to Heaney. Heaney offloads it. And again, Kennedy can clear, but the kick is not ideal. Good pick up there, Haywood, far side of the ground. He's tackled without it. Umpire lets it go. Back inside 50 for the Giants, off the hands and the fist of Robbie Fox. And we'll have a boundary throw in this time at the Giants' end of the ground. Still only the one behind. 5 minutes gone the opening term. The term's 30 minutes. I don't think we're having any time on. It's just a straight 30-minute clock, first and second quarter, and then 25 the third and fourth quarter. That's how you see it, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it is. It's at this stage, this time of year, try to get as much conditioning as you can into the players, and a straight 30 is about right. It's obviously up from what the players had to acclimatise to last year, the shorter quarters, but they'll be blowing by quarter time, Russ, that's for sure.
How enthusiastic, obviously it's a Saturday morning, it's a bit drizzly, but obviously it's the first game that you're playing here in Sydney. Is that the enthusiasm that you could sense when you were downstairs?
Yep. No doubt, Russ. And the thing that you often forget when you've been around footy clubs for a long time, this is the first opportunity that Logan McDonald's got to play against seasoned AFL players. I look down at the bench, Braden Campbell, our number 5 draft pick, he's about to come on as well, Errol Goulden as well. So they'll be nervous, and you can sense that nervous energy. And a few of the players who are coming back from I guess, injury-interrupted pre-seasons, that they want to get through the game. So, and then there's the natural tension for spots. The season's only 3 weeks away now. So, no, it'll be a willing hit out, and certainly the atmosphere that I experienced down there was good. Everyone was up and about.
Well, I was having a look at Braden Campbell. He's got a silky left boot on him, and that's for sure. I mean, if you get some space and he's got a little bit of time in his hand, you can expect it to be delivered pretty nicely out in front of you. He's a very skillful young player, and a lot of excitement because both he and one of your other draft picks, Errol Goulden, both local products, which is always good.
Yeah, they came through the QBE Sydney Swans Academy. They started as 11-year-olds. They're best mates. So great that they could get drafted together on draft night.
Meanwhile, all this was happening. There was a few boundary throw-ins, not a lot of action in terms of clean possessions as Kennedy clears it for the Swans. Haywood needs some support, has that. And that's come the way of Sam Wicks, another one of these young players we'll see a little bit more of this year. Bell gets involved. Tackled without the ball. No, the umpire's paid a throw. Yeah. So Bell offloads. Mills again getting plenty of the ball, that's for sure. Now he finds a target going forward. And McDonald, though, 2-on-1 there. Probably not the right choice, but young bloke making himself available. And you'd be also interested in some of the Giants players, of course. Tom, you've seen plenty of them, and there's a few young boys. Connor Iden's one of those in defence there, as they've got a couple of, I think young Jack Buckley's about to come on, son of.
Yep. Good opportunity for a number of the Giants too. They've been a really successful footy team the last couple of years. Obviously last year missing the finals, but a lot of injuries throughout the year. But a player like Connor Iden, he gets a chance with Phil Davis not playing today. And as I said, it's really important for those players who haven't played a lot of senior footy to take their opportunities. And I've seen over the journey, I've seen many careers started in these sorts of games where a younger player in his second or third pre-season, he builds up his foundations, then he does a job in the first competitive hit out, then all of a sudden he's on his way in his career. So both sides are full of players with those opportunities presenting this morning.
And it's another one, son of, a bit later on, that I'm very excited to see, because I think that the change of scenery will do him the world of good. I'm talking of Ben Silvani, who was a late pickup through the revamped seconds, for want of a better term, competition, and now he finds himself at the Swans. I'm you know, I know Steve and I know his uncle, funnily enough, up here in Sydney, and we know him both. And I think the change of scenery for someone with a name like Silvani will be crucial. Probably the same for young Buckley as well.
Yeah, so Ben's played on Carlton's list for the past couple of seasons, and he saw an opportunity through our VFL program. And I think you're right, Russ, just a chance to get out of Melbourne and play his VFL footy up in Sydney. Paddy McCartan's another one who's done the same thing. He's obviously had some concussion issues. He won't be playing today, but same motivation to join the Swans. So I think that the really pleasing thing about footy in Sydney is that there are more opportunities for local kids through both academies, and then also with VFL programs to attract other players to the market.
I just saw, now this will be interesting, a man on the mark, and he's dead set standing, not moving an inch, is Josh Kennedy. The rule is that you are allowed a little area of grace, which we could pretty much say is 1 metre. You can go back and forth, but you cannot go laterally, as the new rule is, and you can see it again in action here with Parker on the... Now that's a play on call, so there's no issue there. How have the players adjusted to that new rule?
Yeah, I mean, it has taken some time. The instinct, obviously, is to protect the corridor. So you move laterally on the man on the mark, and the reality is that's what the rule's designed to do. It's to make that corridor kick more appealing and more attractive. And I think the other thing you'll see, Russell, is handball receives from players running past the ball carriers, particularly through half back. So I think it's going to have the desired effect in terms of opening the game up. But the players will need to adjust. The umpire, as I understand it, calls stand or hold. Daniel Lloyd's doing that now. He cannot move, and as you can see, it can open up the middle part of the ground.
He can jump up and down.
He can, as long as he. I'm not. That's. I should know the answer to that. Can he jump? Probably not.
So this is the one that, as a spectator, when they're shooting for goal, and we'll see it obviously later on. Can he jump up and down?
Yeah.
He can go back and forth. I'm looking at one of the journos, and the hands are up as well. So we'll wait and see. The first person that does it wrong. We're not calling it the Dane Rampy rule.
Well, Ramps is coming in. So
yeah, no, for fear of him actually refusing to come in if he gets wind of that.
So I think Ramps is with you, Russ, in the third quarter. We'll make sure that he's totally abreast of all the rules, as he should be as the club captain, and he'll be able to give you a blow-by-blow. Yeah,
interesting rule. I think it's, I'm trying to work it out. We have the under-15s. Can you imagine how hard it's going to be to police this at the junior level? But we'll wait and see whether it actually is one of those rules that gets sent down to the junior level. I suspect it won't in the initial stages until it's bedded into the AFL system.
I would think so. And it is, we've had lots of, whether they've been whole rule changes or interpretation changes, players are pretty good at picking them up. And if I'm honest, I think there's been a lot of commentary about it because it's different. But I actually think the fans will enjoy it. It does make it very difficult to defend because the game will be really fast and obviously a lot of ball movement through the middle of the ground. That'll be where the frustrations lie, I think. But I think the fans will actually come to really appreciate the rule.
So the player on the mark can only move once the play on call is made, or as soon as the player kicking the ball, as we see a chance for the opening goal of the game through Toby Green, and it hasn't happened, so it's a point apiece. So if you've just joined us, you've missed stuff all.
But it's a pretty willing sort of contest with both sides have missed some shots on goal. You hope that they actually nail when the season starts. You can tell it's a trial. There's a few nerves. It's a bit slippery as Flynn gets his boot. The ball pushes it just inside 50. At the foot of the pack, Braden Campbell, nice, just weaved his way through that little... Oh, that's a good mark too from Tom Hickey. A couple of new players for the Swans.
There you go. There's the 2 steps to the right, and he's very, very lucky was young Jack Buckley, because that to me was... Or 2 steps to the left as he was doing. That should have been your first 50 in the rules, but he got away with it as the ball goes back inside 50, and Robbie Fox tries something. Now it's an off-the-ball free kick. Matt Nichols has found one in the middle of the ground. Just got bored with not having much to do and decided to go 2 umpires away and blow the whistle.
Practice matches for the umps too, Russ?
They were very excited. I walked past them. They were talking to Leon Cameron. They were very excited.
I've got to say the AFL have done a really good job throughout the summer with making umpires available, and obviously the lion's share of the umpires are based in Melbourne, but they sent through Dan Richardson and Steve Hocking sent 10 umpires up into a Sydney bubble the last week, so the Swans and Giants can train and practice the new rules. So that's been certainly well received and appreciated by the two Sydney clubs.
How much do you hate the word hub and bubble?
They've become part of the vernacular. We're not technically in one at the moment.
No,
We've got some restrictions, and you know, it would be fantastic if we could get through the season by just living to state-regulated health protocols as opposed to being in a lockdown bubble. So important everyone does the right thing.
Well, we might see the first goal here, because I was doing a little bit of stats research last night, and if I said to anyone who is the most accurate kicker of goals in the AFL, would you think Daniel Lloyd would be the answer? No, you would not, but he is. Apparently he
To me, that feels like an absolute moles. I reckon he's a Monty to miss this one, Russ.
100 to 1 he's going to miss. No, thanks for coming. Apparently last year he kicks the first goal, Daniel Lloyd, of the entire AFL season for the GWS Giants. So 117 to 1 behind. Yes, apparently last year kicked 7 zip from set shots.
He's been a fantastic story. He came recruited from Killarney Vale Way, Central Coast.
Part of the McVeigh team.
That's right.
That sort of area.
Yep, Spike McVeigh, who obviously assistant coach at the Giants, and he did some work through the academy at the Swans as well. Identified him, and you know, he's come into the game via a non-traditional pathway, but making an impact, and he's had a good career.
And a lot of people wouldn't know that stands about 4 sets of seats away from the scoreboard end is the Daniel Lloyd stand. Because when he first played his first game, every single one of his mates from Killarney Vale trekked down, and they held a number 39 sign up there for days and days and days. 38, what am I saying? And there was about 100 of them in there, and it became the Daniel Lloyd stand. Not a lot of people know that.
No, I was unaware of that.
You would have had to been here when the Giants might have been getting touched up a bit more than they were in the last couple of years to remember that, as Lloyd gets a loose handball. I did well with the tunnel ball to Heaney. Almost got away with it.
Isaac Heaney, obviously one of our elite players, and coming back from ankle surgery. He's played the last couple of weeks now in the inter-club arrangement and just really building his match fitness. His touch has been great, kicked 4 goals last week, and great to see him get amongst it early here too.
But as I was speaking to Loretta, the general manager of media for the Swans a bit earlier, I thought it was butt surgery, because I read an article, but they took some stem cells out of his butt to put in his ankle, correct?
Yeah, so stem cell surgery requires some fat cells to be taken from somewhere.
I got tons of those.
Well, he doesn't, I don't think. And for those who are keen Instagram followers, we've actually started ensuring that our players wear their T-shirts at training. I think that's been a bit of hasn't been that well received by some of our fans, but Isaac in particular isn't afraid to go shirtless. But he had to build up his fat deposits, which apparently was a bit harder for him than probably you or I, Russ.
Oh, I could give him an hour's lesson on how to do that, and he wouldn't miss a beat. Ball goes to ground off the Sinclair attempted mark, comes the way of Rowbottom, screws it around inside 50 for the Swans. The Giants lead this by 6 points at the moment, and we've played 17.5 minutes, as you can see on screen there. And Callum Sinclair now in the middle. Tom Hickey is having a bit of a rest. He's done superbly well in his opening setup, and both he and Flynn having a bit of a rest, I would suspect, at the moment, as the ball comes away of Lloyd. Gets rid of it quickly, drives it inside the centre square area. At the back was Dawson. Paddled away there by Cornelio. Well done this time by Aish. No, Bruin it is. He gets his boot to ball, one of the new kids from the Giants. Pick 12. You remember his face when the draft went through. Poor fella. He got a bit of a shock that he got picked up by the Giants as they go inside 50. And that should be an easy mark, and it is. And probably, no, it's...
I think it was a shepherd off the ball.
Blocking one. awarded to the Giants' Taranto now, who's pushed a bit forward in the last sort of 5 minutes, having a round-the-corner shot at goal. And Tommy, also noticed there were some selection trials of the Swans AFLW in the Northern Territory. Is that what I read right?
The youth girls program. We had our first competitive hit out with our under 17 and 19 girls out here at Tom Wills, which is the training ground for the Giants, and that was terrific. The excitement of the young girls. These girls will be, I guess, the pipeline of the talent for our AFLW team, which we hope to get into the competition in the next couple of seasons, and they were excellent. They're playing down in Canberra today, again against the Giants, and then the Swans girls head off to Geelong the week after that to play their third game, and it's been a really great addition to our club, and we're looking forward to seeing how they go as they progress through the AFLW ranks.
There was a little bit of an example of what young Campbell can do when he gets the ball in hand. He just wheeled around and drilled a pass that unfortunately wasn't marked, as Parker also drops one in the middle of the ground, in the middle of the inside 50 of the Giants. But yeah, he sensed that he has fitted in very nicely into the system, young Braden Campbell.
Yeah, he's come through, as I said, he's come through the academy since he was 11, and he's a beautiful kick, left foot kick. He can really play anywhere. He's very quick and very powerful for an 18-year-old, and he gets a good snap there by Riccardi.
Yes, a very good snap. So Jake Riccardi gets his first goal. The Giants get their second, 2-2-14. The Swans, after kicking the first behind, haven't been able to register a major, and we've still got around 10 minutes to go in this opening quarter. Yeah, as you were saying.
Yeah, so Braden will be certainly pushing his claim for a round one start. If it's not round one, I suspect he'd play pretty early in the piece. And we do need to manage expectations on young players that come through, regardless of whether they're pick 1 or pick 50, but clearly a highly rated young player. We went into the draft with picks 3 and 4 that got pushed back to 4 and 5, and they were able to secure Logan McDonald with that first pick at 4, and the Hawks bid on Braden Campbell at pick 5, so we were forced to match that bid, but couldn't have been happier to pick him up at 5, and he's a lifelong Swans fan from the upper North Shore in Sydney, and he's played a bit of reserves footy with us the last 2 years, and looking forward to seeing him make his AFL debut imminently.
And where do you reckon that'll be? Sort of sooner rather than later?
I think probably. I mean, you don't want to, as I say, put too much pressure on these kids, but he's been playing with the defensive group off half-back. He's a beautiful ball user. Pulled out a free kick here. Is it Tommy Papley? So that's where he's been settling. So if he comes into the side, you'd expect it to be across half-back. And as I said, he's done a lot right in his first pre-season, but it is a big step up from academy footy to senior footy.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's opportune that Tom Papley has the ball. A lot of speculation as to where he was going towards the end of last year. So happy that he stayed put, because goal kicking was an issue for the team during the course of the year, as he kicks his first of the day and the Swans first as well. So 1-1-7, 2-2-14, midway towards the end of, midway through the opening quarter. And I mentioned that 26 goals last year. I think the next best was single digits for the side. So that's an issue, averaging just 60 points a game. You need some more. You need some more than that.
We had some injury concerns up front with obviously that Lance not playing a game, Isaac hurting his foot early on in the piece as well. So Tommy certainly carried that burden. Had a fantastic year, finished in the top 3 in the club championship. He's in the leadership group, fully invested, and I know our members are wrapped with Tommy. He's one of their favourites. In fact, I might give the membership a bit of a plug here, Russ, if I can. It's the best ticket, most assured way to get into the footy this year. That's one thing we do know, that members will be able to get access. We've got 75% capacity at the SCG, 75% up here in New South Wales across the board. So looking forward to that very first game against the Crows in round 2 at the SCG. But a great way to support your club. It's clearly all clubs, and we're not immune to that, have had some challenging financial times, and the members have stood by us, which has been phenomenal. And for those who haven't renewed, I'd really encourage you to do that, because footy's a great part of life, and we're certainly excited to get it kicked off in 2021.
And I'd extend that and even say do the both, because it's probably the only way you can watch a game every weekend live, and both venues are fantastic. Certainly here at Giant Stadium, not as full as it is at the SCG, but certainly parking sometimes is a little easier to cop, and getting in and out of the place with the trains going right to the door as we see Kennedy rolled over the boundary line. And just on the way you said the membership and the 75% capacity, so that is in terms, what is it, 48,000?
Yeah, so that's from a SCG perspective, that's 36,000.
That's not bad, is it?
Which is great. I mean, we
take
average
36,000 every day of the week.
We average about 32,000 a home game. We've got fantastic loyal support, obviously, up here in Sydney. So we would love, and it would be great to expect that sort of number when we play the Crows in our first game. So the sentiment from our membership base is that they're excited about football coming through. They're excited about the younger players that have been blooded the last couple of years, and they've been starved of any meaningful crowd content in Sydney for the best part of 12 months. So as I said, membership's your best way to get into the footy. So make sure, if you haven't renewed or you're thinking about signing up for the first time, jump online at sydneyswans.com.au and follow the prompts through to membership. We've got a raft of flexible options to cater for everyone.
Florent with an inside kick towards McDonald. Tackle at the back was...
it's Goulden.
Like Goulden, yes, it was, in the 21. Do you get given the jumpers, or do you request? How does it work?
It's a bit of both. It's
never got to that level where I needed to know.
It's a bit of both. Obviously, you have traded players come in, you have drafted players, and a bit of a pecking order. You have a few conversations if anyone desperately wants a number. Tommy Papley, for instance, changed to number 11 because his grandfather Max wore that after starting in 41. But Errol's in the number 21. He's an academy boy. His locker will be next to Nick Blakey, another academy boy, and made famous by Leo Barry. Russ, he was a pretty handy player.
He certainly was. Don't ever bring that up with Coxie, though. He refuses to listen to the conversation.
He kicked it to him, didn't he? Passed it.
Yeah,
he passed it to Leo.
Absolutely kicked it to him.
Yeah.
Lace out, as we always said. There's a decent old leap. Was that Hickey or McCartan? It was Hickey. Got some serious airtime there on the far side of the ground as Lloyd handballs it. Unfortunately came off players. Buntine was there, and it's over the boundary line. 14 plays 7. 2-2-14, 1-1-7. And we're heading into the last stages of the opening term. If you wanted to ask Tom a question, Loretta is standing by the Twitter address, which is at Sydney Swans. So you can just send a question for Tom Harley or Jimmy Bartell, Dave Matthews, or even Dane Rampier across the call. We'll try and get to as many as possible at Sydney Swans. And also we've also got the Giants as well. Allison's at GWS Giants. Thanks, Allison. So the team is helping us out here to try and make this a little bit more different than normal. Obviously, the crowd noise and the way, the seriousness, as Keith takes a nice strong mark in defence for the Giants. And here we see the first 50 metre. And I am going to go on the same side as Sam Reid here. He did not grab. And it looks like Matt Nichols is saying, you move. Let's have a look at this on the Easy Charge replay. That's my company. I'm just giving myself a free plug there. You can't see it there on the close-up shot, unfortunately. But, yeah, Sam Reid looks like he was stuck in the mud. But umpire Matt Nichols did not agree. And so that's the first of the 50-metre free kicks that we'll see many of, I suspect, Tom.
And it's a significant penalty, isn't it? You see the ball go from one end to the other. And I think what you will see as fans, that Josh Kelly got the handball received as well. That's the other way to open up the game pretty quickly. So the players will adjust. They've got no choice. The rule's not going to change. I'm convinced of that. But history suggests that players tend to adjust pretty well.
Going back when we were younger, it was a 10-metre and then it became 15. Did it go 15 to 50, or was there a 30-metre?
No, there was, I reckon, I played my junior footy in Adelaide, and a 25-metre penalty was the go back then, but they are half an hour behind in South Australia, so they take a while to get things back.
Is there any benefit in trimming that up, like a 25-metre for a small infringement and the deliberate infringement, you know, the holding the player, pushing him in the back, where you could argue that it's just time wasting as Blakey gets the give and receive and then sets it up for Reid? That kick not going. Flint played well for the Giants. They'd be very happy with his start, although there's a bit of a turnover there, almost a high tackle on Heaney. Working through it though, the Giants can clear here, and they do so. They go very wide. Target is Himmelberg. He's getting a lot of attention there from Matthew Ling. He's one of the young kids that had a couple of games last year and really needs just a bit of opportunity as he makes his way to the bench just to see where he sits in the system at the moment.
Yeah, he's a really good young fella, Matty Ling. He's our round 1 draft pick a couple of seasons ago now. This is his 4th year. He was picked number 14 and has just had some horror foot injuries with turf toe and some other foot-related issues. It's a toe injury that's got something to do with the turf. I don't know a lot more about it than that, to be honest, Russ. But no, in all seriousness, it's a debilitating injury, quite prevalent in the NFL. So it's basically when this is underplay it, but when you stub your toe and the ligaments of your big toe become inflamed, and Lingy's had to deal with that. So he's had an uninterrupted pre-season this year, which has been great. So everyone's got everything crossed that he can fulfil his potential.
Explain to me that one that just happened there, where it was a high tackle on James Bell, and the ball was just picked up by Mills, and he just kicked it and played on. I didn't think that was allowed. Is it because he was behind, he was okay? Or?
Yeah, so you can't play on from a mark. However, if it's any other free kick, as Tommy Papley's just missed to the left. I'll be honest, Russ, I was focused on Matty Ling when he was coming off the bench, but if the free kick was or Callum picked up the ball, he can play on. Yeah.
Okay. I just thought that because it was a stop, had to come back to the man who was awarded the free kick as the Giants clear from the Papley miss. Another high fly there was Dawson to Kennedy, just off the side of the boot, but it might work out nicely. Heaney can take a mark, and he does so right on quarter time, and he'll go back and have a long kick. And game 1, first kick. Are you saying just pull back on this one?
Stretch your hammies before you do this. I'm not sure I want to look at this.
Oh no, the umpires said no, we're just going to pull this one up. We're not even going to bother. Or
there you go.
Oh no, he's going to have a bit of a crack, and there's nobody on the mark, so that answers that question. He decides to unload just for the heck of it, and misses. Not sure if that's going to count though. No. I'm fairly sure it won't.
No, that was a good hit out, Russ. I think it was pretty willing. The conditions for those of you who are at home watching it, we've had a bit of rain here this morning in Sydney. It's quite humid as it can be at this time of year, and I think the players took a bit of time to adjust to the conditions, but both defences held up pretty well. We saw some good ball movement. Obviously, we saw the 150-metre penalty from Sam Reid, which is the new rule. The other one I think that'll open up the game a bit, Russ, is which they first implemented last year, was extending the kick out, the man on the mark who's defending they've rolled that out another 5.
Jake Lloyd rule.
The Jake Lloyd rule. He'll take every metre that he can. He's a beautiful user for us off half-back and takes a lot of our kick-ins. But we've had an early look at that. But
so essentially that will mean that out of defence, the ball is going to clear the 50-metre arc every single time, you would expect.
You would think. Well, there's certainly an opportunity to do that. Now, some sides might take the short one because the zones will ultimately set up a bit further back than what they have previously. But these are rules that have clearly been implemented to I guess encourage more attacking ball movement from the half back, and it's all about, like all sports really, it's all about time and space, and try to create as much space as you can on the ground when you're trying to attack. So first look, it's been a good start. It's been willing. We've seen some good form from a Swans point of view. I thought Tom Hickey started the game well. He got his hands on the ball. Isaac's continued his form. Nick Blakey's playing through the middle of ground as Callum Mills is today, and Tom McCart was the other, I guess, key positional change, playing back. Braden Campbell got a few touches off half-back. Errol Gilden got a few up front as well, and Logan McDonald's playing as a key forward. So plenty to look forward to from a Swans point of view, and looking forward to how many quarters we got left. We've got 5 to go, 5 quarters.
Yes, you've got 5, I've got 3. We're just going to play the for want of a better term, the senior squads, and then the rookies and the draftees, the the AFL New South Wales.
Yep.
What's that competition now being called?
It's the East Coast VFL competition.
East Coast VFL. A lot of those boys will be playing a little bit later on as well. So plenty to look forward to. Quarter time here. It is 2-3-15, 1-2-8. Tom, appreciate your time. Just give us a bit of a plug then again for those memberships. Remember, 75% of people allowed to go to the SCG. First game against Adelaide, so that's give or take 36,000 people. Plenty of atmosphere. There'll be tons of things happening at the ground, obviously, to welcome back members and fans who've been starved of footy for the last 6 months.
That's right. The last meaningful crowd was round 23, 2019. So membership's your best way to ensure you get access to the games. We've got plenty of options, a new flexi membership for this season to cater for every possible situations.
My dog's a member.
Excellent.
You know, because if you get a family of 5, they give you an extra one, and the dog's name is Buddy.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Buddy has his own membership card.
Excellent.
Doesn't go too many times.
We'll take it, but as you said, Russ, 75% capacity, which equates to 36,000. To ensure that you're there, we're expecting good demand for that. Make sure you do get your membership. Visit the website at sydneyswans.com.au, and as I said, we've got plenty of options to ensure that we can cater for everyone out there, and looking forward to welcoming everyone back to the SCG.
Couple of questions for you as your former teammate Jimmy Bartell strolls in. Errol Goulden, this is off the Twitter page to the Sydney Swans, so at Sydney Swans or at GWS Giants. There you go, everyone. You can send us a question. Errol Goulden looks good. Will he play round 1?
If he's playing today, he's in the mix. I think he's had a really good summer. He's a small forward initially, but will move into the middle of the ground. He kicks the ball extremely well. He accumulated all through his junior career, so hopefully he does. Well, but if he doesn't, it'll be imminent. There's
a few injuries that to a couple of those small forwardy types that might just open the door. Also, are banners a thing of the past? At this stage, we don't know, although we're still waiting on the COVID restrictions. But
yeah, they were last year, Russ, and there are obviously extremely tight restrictions in and around the footy bubble, as you mentioned.
Who goes on the field?
Yeah,
really?
That's right. So we the reality is we'll be told whether we can have them or not. If it was up to us, I'm sure we would, because the cheer squads are such an important part of football club.
What about a virtual banner? So it goes on the big screen and you can see both sides, and then somehow some person who's way smarter than us works out that as the players can run through it.
There you go. That could work. That could work. I know that the AFL are looking at all creative ways to make sure that all the partners who have supported the competition, certainly partners for clubs, are extremely important. Have opportunities to showcase their brand, but when we can welcome back the banner and when we can welcome back cheer squads onto the ground, we absolutely will, because they're an integral part of the footy club.
Kick to kick's probably going to have to take a back seat for another 12 months.
I think so. It would at this stage that would be the case as well. So we are, in all seriousness, I don't want to sound sort of flippant about it, but we're still a bit day by day, week by week. We've got obviously the AAMI season, the AAMI series, which is was initially two games, and this was going to be one of them, and this has obviously changed, and then we were due to play the Gold Coast Suns next week, which will now be the Giants. So it probably is a good indication and a good example of how flexible we still need to be. So the border restrictions in Perth are still in place, and they're pretty stringent. So we're planning as best as we can. We're planning for the season to go ahead as it's currently scripted, but at the same token, we need to be open to changing pretty quickly on the spot.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. As I think yesterday or the day before, there was just one case of COVID within the entire country, and that was in quarantine. So, and we look at so many of the sports overseas that are just not even getting a person at the games. So we are very, very privileged. Even New Zealand, who is seemingly A-OK, they've had a bubble that's reached double digits, and the whole place shuts down.
That's
so
right.
You've just got to be so careful.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Russ. We are extremely fortunate to live where we are as a country, and certainly the communities within it. We've done a great job, and the better we keep going, making sure that we stay on top of this, the better outcomes we're going to get, certainly for live sport. So as I say, we're extremely fortunate and looking forward to having a crowd.
Tommy, I appreciate your time. I'll let you hand over the microphone to your former teammate as I watch Braden Preuss just walk off there with that shoulder heavily strapped following the operation that happened only a couple of days ago. So he is probably due back, as I understand. Whoops, we'll just pull that one out so that doesn't make a noise like that ever again. He is due back in around June, as is Adam Kennedy, I believe, as well. So both Kennedy and Bruce having shoulder operations, and they should be back for the Giants. Now, from the Giants' perspective, I think they'd be very, very happy with a couple of those players that have had their foot on the ball and got amongst it, as Kennedy and Taranto renew old acquaintances in the middle of the ground. Hickey, nice little tap early doors, straight down to Mills, who's played well. Off the deck went Lloyd by the left boot, goes towards Florent on the far side of the ground, taps it to his own advantage, and this will go out of bounds, and we'll have a boundary throw in. We'll just get a little bit of the nat sound coming up there from the team. Jimmy, good, welcome along. Oops, we've got now Jimmy's microphone. Russ Barwick and Jimmy Bartell helping you through the second quarter of this game. 2-3-15, 1-2-8. You would have been reasonably happy with the start. A little scrappy, but was to be expected.
Yeah, pressure from the opposition. It's the first time it comes on you. We saw some shots on goal that just missed, and just having opposition. It sounds so simple, but your teammates, you tend to just dial it back a step, but everyone's been chomping at the bit to play against someone.
There goes the kick from Keith, goes out to Ward. Ward spots up a teammate in Green.
But what's noticeable, Russ, early is the really good players. They're just clean with their fundamentals. You saw Heaney, Papley, both from the Swans. The ball comes along the deck. It's a little bit slippery out there with a little bit of light rain, but they just take it cleanly. So the quality players, they just do the basics well, don't they?
Well, that's a beautiful segue into Josh Kelly, which I'm thinking you're alluding to, because he has been absolutely clean, no matter what the conditions are. And I do get some good mail that he's had a... Oh, hang on. That's Buntine, who's gone straight down, and we'll just monitor that. You heard Jimmy in the background go, oh no, as Green takes a mark. I think he's getting up. It's more like a dead leg. What's his problem previously has been? Knees.
I thought he'd done a knee the way he sort of rolled on the ground and grabbed himself, but probably just copped a stray knee in that contest.
Yeah, good old-fashioned dead leg, and he'd be very nervous. Gee, I'll tell you what, young Flynn, who has found himself in the role due to the injury to Bruce, has really stepped it up in the first stages of this little trial match.
Well, we'll get to see a bit of him early in the year. Obviously, Braden Bruce come in to be the number one ruck. Jacobs came from the Crows last year, and he also had a knee injury himself, young Flynn. But we'll get to see what he's made of. As you see with injuries, it provides opportunities. And, look, he just needs to be competitive in the middle. Take that front position, allow Cornelio, Green, Hopper, these sort of guys to get the work around him.
There was a lovely kick from Haynes to find Lloyd, equally lovely across the far side of the ground, and lands in the hands of, I'll double check on
there's Riccardi, I think, up there, playing a bit higher up this quarter.
So Riccardi did well, and it's been some nice passages of play. Some of the young guns not so prevalent from the Giants' perspective. We'll see a few of those as we go in. Tanner Bruin is one of those players we were looking at. Connor Stone we haven't seen, I don't think, yet, or is he? No. He'll come on in around the third or fourth quarter, maybe a bit later on. So how are these guys trekking, you think, Jimmy?
The young fella's pretty good. Tanner Bruin's been really impressive, our high draft pick. He's a bit different from a lot of our midfielders. You have a look at, call it, the types of inside mids we got, with Hopper, Taranto, Green. They're bigger. Even Cornelio likes to take that stationary position and work off his opponent, where Tanner Bruin is, they say in footy terms, has the fast feet. He likes to get in around the contest. He likes to use his quick feet to get out, find that free space. So he can provide a bit of a point of difference already in his early career.
Yeah, there's a couple of young boys that we were talking to Tom about it, and you'd probably go back to when you first was playing, and you just know that some days you've got that opportunity, and no matter how much you try and grab the footy, it's just never coming your way, and then other days you've just got it on a string, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that happens with all players young in their career. It's closing that gap between your best and your worst, and that's what makes players 200 gamers, very good players, is there's a very small gap. And look, you only need to look at the Swans, Josh Kennedy. Can you remember how many bad games he's played?
Yeah, exactly.
There's probably been 3 in his career. The gap is so small.
And there's a lovely pass there from Blakey into Heaney. Now, Blakey's one of these Swans players that wants to play in the mids, wants to play high midfield, maybe even on the wing. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of game time he gets, because I was speaking before to Tom, the problem they had last year was simply kicking enough points to win games. They just didn't do it. Averaged under 60 for the year. And yes, you've got to adjust the fact that there was some injuries, and also the time of the games was very, very short in comparison to previous years, but still not a lot of points were being scored as Heaney leans back and misses to the right.
But I think with his midfield time, and we saw early in the first quarter where he had a chain of possession from the half-back line where he got it 2 or 3 times. I think even though he comes out of the forward line, he can help them score more. I know that sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but the ball movement. So he's a player, and we've seen him already early in his career. He likes to take the game on. So if he's up through the middle of the ground, he's going to take the game forward pretty quickly.
That's a real identification of this new rule there, the 15-metre man on the mark, for want of a better term, for the kick-ins. The ball's almost reaching the centre circle. I suppose if you go back to some guys with really big kicks, Wilson from the Dockers, he'd be, and Zach Williams, they'd be kicking it inside the other half of the opposition team on a good day with a bit of breeze.
Well, another Western Australian, Shannon Hearn, he'd be thumping it. But look, the AFL loves counting. There's they don't say it, but you be in these AFL meetings. They love counting the amount of times the ball goes back and forth across the centre line.
Yep.
So if the imaginary line are going across the middle, and this will just create that even more. But if I see one player who kicks it to the pocket, I'm going to scream, because last year they had that extra space and players still kicked it to the point post. It's literally going backwards.
Yeah.
And it's actually making it really easy.
From the kick-in.
The kick-in.
Yeah.
I get so frustrated when I see that. We get a 50-metre penalty.
It's a 50-metre free kick, and it's an off-the-ball free kick, and looked like it's an off-the-ball kick against McCartan on Himmelberg. So
probably holding off the ball, stopping the lead.
Matt's got a couple of those off-the-ball ones. I suspect he's missed being in the limelight. That's my first AFL umpire's job for the year. There'll be many more to come. Harry Himmelberg is a really good player and had the pleasure of being in a forward line that was stacked with talent. Now is the key man, I suppose, with the Jeremy Cameron move across the off-season as he kicks the goal. The Giants now have 3-3-21 to 1 goal 3, and a different setup there from Harry, almost like the rugby league kicking style where they sort of lean back to get that momentum to go forward. It's routine. That's all you want from your goal kickers, to have the same routine each time. It's easy to diagnose then when you're missing them. But Himmelberg and Finlayson, they play really well as, if you want to put him in a class of forward, as a second forward, where Riccardi, even though he's young, he loves to take the goal square. He loves to play a lot more like the traditional key forward, loves to jump and launch at the packs, where the other two repeat leads, they diagonal lead, they get across the 50 really well. It's not a bad forward line when you lose someone like Cameron, who's a Coleman medalist, of course, and you've still got Green in amongst that as well. You think to yourself, well, hang on, Jeremy Cameron's leaving, let's all get in the fetal position and woe is me, but I think it might actually help them. Yeah, it makes it unpredictable, and bringing Steve Johnson across from the Swans, as unpredictable forward as you're ever going to get in the game, he'll see this as an opportunity. And you've got to look to history a bit. The Hawks lost Buddy Franklin, absolute superstar, and they became just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. It's about opportunity for some, and about the setup as well. The key leading forward, the Tony Lockett style, Jason Dunstall, you mentioned, even Buddy. I mean, last year the Coleman medalist was Hawkins. Hawkins, yep. 49 something goals, not a huge amount of goals. I mean, remember when Jason and Plugger were getting 100 every time and running onto the ground when they scored 100. Yeah, it's all got to do to the system and the way you play and move the ball. So probably for the Giants this year, moving the ball a bit quicker across half-back, and we said that even for the Swans, you provide opportunities and you provide shots on goal. If you go really slow across half-back, you can have the best leading forward, you just give them no opportunity. That's a good mark there from De Boer. It's an interesting game for a tagger, and I say that with all due respect. The trial game's really not something that he wants to tag someone in. He just wants to probably get about there, or does he have to play that role in the trial as well? I think that's where he plays his best footy, and you want to run into form, don't you, going into round one. He started on the forward line, bit of a defensive forward. If he gets near Lloyd, he'll take him, but he's been good early, actually applying a lot of pressure. Certainly been a really good pickup when you consider he came across with Tendai Mzungu, I think, in a sort of a dual deal with the Dockers as he kicks his first goal, and the Giants now skip out to a handy lead. 4-3, 27, 1-3-9, so 18 points the margin halfway through this second term of this trial match between the GWS Giants and the Sydney Swans ahead of the Amy Community Shield game. I think it's called the Community Shield Community Series game next week, and that'll be between the same two teams just because of the COVID protocol, so we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, the boys, really, I think, been huge value when you consider it wasn't one of the huge draft or transfers in the market when it happened. It was one of those ones he said, we got De Boer and Mazunga.
Yeah, and he was a good forward for the Dockers. He played a really good role there. When he came to the Giants, he moved on ball, played as a tag and been a very successful tagger, actually, when he's been playing for the Giants. But it's also the stuff he brings with leadership, the way he trains, he role model for the young players. So it's been just more than his on-field stuff that's been a great benefit to the Giants.
Speaking of great, Josh Kelly just looking absolutely great. The way he just cleared that one on his own, off the right boot. Missed the target, but still was good to watch as Sinclair and Flynn go hard at it. Comes out to that man again, Kelly. Thumps it towards Himmelberg. Good work there, Melican. Did the spoil. Green with a little left foot snap. Needs the left-hand bounce. It didn't quite happen, and it's a minor score. But they move ahead to a 19-point margin. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. Russ Barwick alongside Jimmy Bartell. How would you go in this new scenario, Jimmy? You reckon you'd still handle yourself beautifully, even though the rules are meant for fast, tall midfielders?
I don't know. Not right now, of course. I'd be far too slow and too old, and I think we'd both ping a hamstring out there, wouldn't we?
I'd ping a hamstring getting out of bed. But I think you'd be okay. Don't worry about that. As one of the Swans' new boys gets his boot on the ball, and Goulden goes long with that kick. Flynn off the pack was nice. Ward, who I noticed starting on the wing, that might just be because they've got a few mids, or is that a positional change? Is there anything that's positional in the off-season that you've spotted, or you can
look
lead us into?
Ward and that midfield group, when you've got so many of them, you've got to play another position, and at different stages you can play wing, but you see immediately once the centre bounce happens, he's on ball, so the wing plays a lot tighter these days.
It was almost a get and go from Papley as Cornelia just weaves his way through the pack. Goes long, inside 50, but it's a good mark to McCartan going back courageously. He's got Sinclair and he's also got Blakey, chooses the ladder. So chips it out, and again we see the players on the mark. What do you think of that new rule? I spoke to Tom about it and he was saying that it'll just take some adjusting, but
yeah. We saw a couple early, especially when marked just outside 50. Naturally, as a defender or a midfielder getting back, you want to block off the corridor so they can't wheel and go. But look, first couple of rounds we're going to see the odd 50 and we're all going to be upset about it, and then by about round 12 it'll just be part of our game.
Yeah, certainly will. Footy in Melbourne, you obviously spend a bit of time in both places. Has it given you the feeling? A mate of mine said the other day that Melbourne is still very, very quiet, still scared to go out because of the COVID and the lockdowns, and they've had so many lockdowns, and we really feel for them because we've only had the odd one here. But footy in Melbourne, is it going to be the fill-up that the city needs?
Yeah, certainly.
And Geelong as well?
Yeah, and if they're talking like they did the other day about potentially 50,000 at that first game, the Thursday night opener, Richmond v Carlton, hopefully that gives, I guess, everybody in the general public a bit of hope that we're returning to normal. I think first and foremost, people getting their jobs and their livelihood back, that's the important thing. And if they can use footy as a bit of an example or a positive light, that we're starting to turn the corner.
Yeah, I think that we underestimate it, sort of overestimate it when it's happening, and you underestimate it when it's not happening, because everybody this time of the year says, I can't wait for the footy to start, and the day after grand final, it's, I can't wait for the cricket to start, if you know what I mean. But the camaraderie, the family get-togethers, the banter you have with your friends, whether it be at the pub, at your house, at the game, whatever, it's just something that is really going to get everyone back on track. As free kicks awarded this time to Rowbottom, and he'll get it's a holding the man free kick, as you saw in the replay. And now you can't, this is another one, you can't have two men on the mark as well. It's basically stand, you can't jump up and down. According to the umpire, he's not moving. It makes no difference, you can still miss them. So I think there's still some questions to be asked about that. I would expect that you can still jump up and down because that's not...
can't you?
Well, certainly the way that the players are doing it, they are just steadfastly...
frightened to move.
Nailing the... Well, you don't want to get a spray from Leon or from Horse, so I can understand both of those.
Well, now's the time to test it, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a practice game.
Have you ever copped a spray in a practice game?
No, not a practice game.
It'd be pretty harsh to cop one in a practice game, wouldn't it? Questions from Twitter. How's Jesse travelling? The quad 3 to 4 weeks. Of course, we're speaking of our new recruit, yes. Jesse Hogan.
He was going really well until he hurt the quad. He's fitted in. He's always been a hard trainer. He's just gone about his business really well. He's embraced the Sydney lifestyle, and he'll fit into that midfield mix, which then gives you options too. You know, obviously with Bruce out, well, that means one of those big key forwards can pinch hit in the ruck a bit when young Flynn comes in, because he also hasn't played a lot of football at this level, and so he'll need some help to manage that ruck load. So hopefully we get Jesse back up and going, because we've seen him at his best, and he's an absolute quality player, and we'd love for him, not only for the Giants, but personally to get back to that.
I actually thought he was one of the smartest pickups in the off season. I thought, here's a guy that could not walk down the street of Perth or Fremantle without getting someone looking at him, even and when you're on the receiving end, and you probably have been on the receiving end of the looks, I can only imagine what it's like. You know, you're not stupid. You read the papers, you read the news, and someone says, oh, you're not putting in or you're not producing, it's got to hurt. But I've seen them so many times come up here, players that you don't get recognised as the kick comes from Florent. No, that was Rowbottom. So that's a goal to the Swans. So Rowbottom kicks a much needed one, their second goal of the morning. So they are 2 goals for 16, and they trail the Giants 4-4-28. So a margin at this stage of the 2 straight goals. Yeah, getting back to Jesse Hogan, the amount of relief you get when you can walk down the street and nobody knows who you are. And I'm not being disrespectful. No. It's just the way of Sydney versus a AFL town like Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth.
Well, that's the broader discussion of the footy bubble, really, isn't it? And I think if COVID, when players went and lived, in the football bubbles, they saw life outside of Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth, and they could go about their business, and you call it, be a footballer on weekend, and just everybody else, from Monday to Friday. And we've seen this happen a lot more, players, the bubble lifestyle of, being in the fishbowl. It doesn't suit them. No. Lockie Neal, when he left Freo, everyone thought, he'd go to a Melbourne club or go back home to one of the Adelaide clubs and pick Brisbane. You heard Luke Hodge when he went up there for, to help out the Lions. After a couple of years, he loved it. He loved the fact that, the weather's beautiful. He can be with the family and kids, and no one knows him when he goes down to get the paper, and then he's the footballer on weekends.
Well, I once bumped into Wayne Campbell, who was at the Giants as well, at a coffee shop at Hunters Hill, and he was with his wife, and his wife said, that's the first bloke that's recognised you in Sydney. And that was 5 years after he'd been here. Whereas I don't think that would happen ever in Melbourne, as we see the ball go left again, Rowbottom. He's had a bit to do early. That kicks comes off the side of the boot. Underneath it, though, was Papley, who takes the mark. 3 times lucky, had the grab, and that caught everyone unawares, because the ball was heading towards the square and Papley was the only one looking where it was going. It came off the side of the boot, so it certainly wasn't deliberate. But this is a chance for the Swans to get another goal, Papley's second, and just to get them within 1 kick of the Giants as we tick over 13 minutes in this second term. Certainly been dangerous today. He can find space inside forward 50 like no other, and that's the art of being a small forward, isn't it? You don't get many opportunities. His radar hasn't been quite on at the moment, but it is a practice game. I think he's kicked 1 goal 2, make that 1 goal 3 at this stage, so he wouldn't be happy with that. It'll be a little bit of kicking coaching. Nick Davis will chip up and say, I'll teach you how to do that off the 2-step run-up. So, life is a little bit different at the moment for some of these, but Jesse Hogan, I think once he gets on the track, he could be the find of the season, just to reinvigorate his career in a place where he can just concentrate and having a bit of a kick and having a bit of a laugh when he's not doing footy, which I think will suit him, as we see a massive kick in from the Giants. Goes the best part of 60 plus the 15 head start as wheels back inside 50. Mark Tahini has been paid eventually by the umpire. So Heaney outside 50 as the rain starts to get a little bit heavier here. It's very misty, as you can probably note on the screen. Now, Heaney's going to go back and have a shot at goal, I would think, or either set it up, just waiting for a lead, or for someone to drop in the pocket. That was the design. That someone is Reed, but the fist came from Keith, and it was nice. Cornelio there at right back pocket. Wheels onto the left, goes back to where it came from originally. Dawson should have taken that one, comes to the back of the pack. This is Campbell, and he was dispossessed. In fact, I think it might have been Ling, it was. Now it goes back to Riccardi for the Giants, to Taranto, back and forth with the ball. Kick smothered. Taranto needs to get rid of it, was thrown to the ground, but he didn't have it. That was by Rowbottom, who gets a little short one out towards Heaney, but he didn't know it was coming. Now we have Green getting involved, so it's scrappy but pretty hot in the middle as well. This time Wicks to Heaney. Off the left boot will Heaney go towards some attacking players, but Keefe gets involved. Now Papley again has to do it all on his own. Blakey hasn't got a right boot, swings around, has to find a left. That's ugly towards Buntine. Nice to see him back on the field. Under pressure, Tanner Bruin got away with it. Back to Buntine. A lot of pressure from the Swans in defence as it goes towards Hopper this time. He gets a handball away to Green. And Green, Tom Green, with a little bit of space, can find a target. And in the middle of the ground is Riccardi, I think it is. And he chips it up and finds Cornelio. So, yeah, you're seeing some willing behaviour from all of the players. There's no love lost between these two, and they'll catch up again next week.
No, it's a good hit out, and it's what you want when you, like you said, you've been training against teammates. You want to actually feel the bumps and bruises, get used to recovering. 8, 9, 10 weeks of pre-season, and you've been told to just be gentle on teammates. You can go hard, but getting thrown to the ground and wake up sore tomorrow and get into that rehab mode again.
Got a couple of questions there off the Twitter sphere. You can, what is it saying there? Membership is your best way to access games, of course. That one's from both teams. You can go to sydneyswans.com.au or gwsgiants.com.au. There's flexi memberships, and that caters for every situation. 3-game memberships for the Giants. Go for that one. Can Tom Green cement a spot in the starting lineup?
Most certainly. Absolutely. He's been fantastic today.
I think I heard a rumour that he was a priority above quite a few other players a year or so ago, that they wanted to re-sign in a batch, and we'll ask Dave Matthews that as well, because they had such a high opinion of him.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's one of those guys, when you get up next to him, you go, my God, you're enormous. Yeah. Look, he's a monster, and people talk about Paddy Cripps and those sort of guys, and Nat Fyfe, their size around the ball. Now, I'm not saying he's Cripps or Fyfe, so we can settle down, but yes. I'm just talking about the physical...
Sydney, remember, it's not Melbourne.
Yes. The
headline of the paper, yes. Jimmy Bartell says he's the new Paddy Cripps. No,
it's just the physical size of them. When they get around the ball, they can, push their way to the best position. They're light on their feet for big guys, and they win that first possession, which is so vital.
What do you think of the other big news that Dustin Martin's going to sign with Sydney?
How many years?
What, 10-year, $20 million deal, Loretta? That'd be so...
That's unders.
He'll be 41 when he finishes playing. Yes.
Fantastic.
They find a headline, don't they?
But you do have to admire what the Swans have done in their history. They've got big names up there. You go back to Plugger, Barry Hall, Buddy Franklin. You get the big names up, and it sells memberships. It drives people through the gate, and also keeps you pretty successful with all those finals campaigns that you've played in your history.
Kirk Tippett was another one that was...
He was signed, but we just didn't see the best of Kirk
at Sydney.
At Sydney. He had all those injury woes.
So there's been a few that have worked wonders. There's like everything.
Greg Williams was another one going back.
Oh, there's a few going back in the day.
Yeah.
Jared Healy, probably one of the all-time ones, of course.
Don't forget Jared, he remind you.
Toby Green has a shot on goal, and that's a handy one for Green. He'd love that as much as anyone. And Green kicks a goal for the GWS Giants. So they go to 5-4-34, and the Swans now 2 goals, 5-17. I'm not sure if the clock is right, because...
No, it's been stuck on that for a while.
13 minutes and 8 seconds for about the last 13 minutes and 8 seconds, I think. So I think we're very late in this quarter as the mist starts to get a little bit heavier here at Giants Stadium. So at the moment, it's a Slight lead for the GWS Giants, nothing too major, 17 points at the minute, but we've still got plenty to come. And there's Chad Warner going on for the Sydney Swans. I think that's his first appearance so far today. We'll see a few of these young guys now start to make an appearance both over the next quarter or so. Flynn looks very likely and seems to have taken the next step, certainly of what we've seen. And I think it's a good thing that you're not probably going back to Shane Mumford in the early stages, because you know what Mummy's going to give you. You've got to see what these young blokes give you.
We do, and he's been 6 years on the list. Obviously, he had a year was wiped out with a knee injury as well, but you've got to play them. You've got to find out about them. You also got to give them confidence. As we know, you need a few games to find your feet. If we can get another ruckman too when Braden Pruce comes back, you want competition for spots as well. It's been pretty good today. He's just probably been found out in a couple of contests with experience against Hickey, who's just the more experienced ruckman, and he'll learn all those little tricks of the trade that ruckmen seem to have. Well, they tell us they have.
Hickey's been with St Kilda and the Suns and the Eagles.
4 clubs.
Yeah, so he certainly is a journeyman, as you get labelled.
That is as journeyman as it gets.
And you've got to, as you say, you've got to give him confidence. The last thing that he wants 6 years in the system is to not get a shot in a trial game when the bloke he's competing with is 106 and has played for... well, he played with you, didn't he, Mummy?
He started with me down at Geelong on the Geelong rookie list.
What's he like?
Big Shane. He's one of one Shane Mumford.
Weird cat is the word I get told.
Yep.
And apparently, Mummy, when we were finishing a game in Canberra, I used the story when everyone goes to the Qantas Lounge or the Virgin Lounge and you might grab a beer, you might grab a juice. Mummy went the red wine.
He's certainly been cultured since he's come up to Sydney, because for Shane Mumford, I know at Geelong, that would have been a Southern and Coke, I think.
Not too much red wine in Geelong?
No, I just don't think Shane's palate was at that stage of his life.
Looking for it, exactly. Another nice kick in, this time marked by the Giants, and they play on. Lloyd chipping in and taking a nice chest mark just outside the centre square. So how crucial for all of the players. They just want to get their hands on the footy and get a couple of kicks and get a bit of confidence, don't they? They don't want to walk away from here saying, I didn't get a kick, I hardly got a touch.
And it's also, remember the first 5 or 10 minutes of the practice game after you've done pre-season for 3 months, and you go, I don't feel like I've done pre-season. You almost need to... Yeah, you need to blow all those cobwebs out from just not playing competitive football for about 6 months.
So another behind to the Swans. So they've kicked their fair share, 2 goals, 7. Not sure of the time. We've had to reset the clock. So we'll try and get some sort of an idea of where we are with the time from one of our many minions that are running around here doing plenty for us.
I think Harry Perryman will learn from that kicking. He's actually kicked it where it's been marked shorter than the man on the mark, so who's been moved back.
If you've got a 15-metre man on the mark...
It's 20 metres.
It's now 20, isn't it?
It's 20.
So you've got a fair indication that if you don't kick it that far, it's play on.
If the bloke you kick it to is still in front of the man on the mark...
Oh, Taranto's in a bit of trouble here. Got away with it, but kicked it out in the full. That was really good defensive work there from...
Young Ling, is it?
Yes, Matthew Ling.
Seen a couple of things from Ling that Swans fans would be happy with. He's got some speed to defending the lead. He's defended different types, so he's got Taranto there, but I've seen him pick up Himmelberg a few times. So.
Well, they must have an opinion of him. He debuted last year, round 8 against Hawthorn, but has had a heap of problems.
High draft pick.
Toe and Achilles injuries over his limited career, so let's hope he's injury-free. We hope everyone's injury-free. Hickey gets down on all fours to grab that, comes up, ends out with Parker, who goes laterally to Lloyd. He can play on, chips it for the running Blakey. Lloyd giving him a little bit of trouble, but well done by Blakey to keep it in. Could have easily just watched it go over the boundary line. Lloyd back by hand. That was good. Found Xavier O'Halloran. Might get your opinion on him shortly, Jimmy. That looked high, but the umpire said you're on the ground, so it's play on the call and you might be pinged. You are. And that was McCartan, dragged it in. So Xavier O'Halloran, 33. Ben is about to see Bruin give it off to Josh Kelly. And here's an opportunity for, that was Riccardi, I should say. Up forward and was interfered with. The play on call and the goal has been scored. I think it was
Taranto.
So another goal to the Giants. and they've skipped away to a 21-point lead here at Giants Stadium. Looking that on the replay, looked to be a bit of a Tiggy Touchwood free kick.
Front on contact.
So you think it was there?
Oh, umpires went now, because obviously, well, you've got the 3 umpires. They see the marking contest, especially deep on the goal square. As soon as you turn around or you make any contact with someone at the front, they immediately pay it. But
look, you've got to have your eye on the ball coming in.
You can't even really turn around now.
Yeah.
But O'Halloran, he's another one of those midfield types from underage footy who won a lot of the ball. But when you come to an AFL club, you've got established midfielders. You've got to find another position to play. So you've got to be a midfielder and so he's just finding what he's is. He spent time at half forward, out in the wing and half back. And if he can be more than serviceable in those, he'll just keep getting picked. And then your midfield minutes increase. It's better trying to find your midfield minutes while you're in the side and not having to go back to the second level.
And there's another one I just saw of these younger players. The siren goes in the background, young Jack Buckley. So you've got Jack Buckley, Xavier O'Halloran, Shipley, Shaw, Connor Iden we've seen before, of course, Kieran Briggs, Cameron Fleeton. There's a few players there that are, and Connor Stone's another one, and Tom Hutchison. There's a few players there that are going to be in the mix for spots during the course of the year for one reason or another. Yeah,
there's opportunities, and Iden and Buckley we saw late last year come in and play last line of defence, and they're so hard to find. Defenders who like playing.
No one wants to play defence.
No one wants to go, especially the last line. Everyone wants to be a half back because you can just rack up touches and you throw out the leg rope and peel off. But Buckley, his improvement has been exceptional. He's had a lot of injuries, but he came on and it was one of the Giants' best few players in the last couple of rounds when things weren't going great. Like I said, he can play last line defence with Iden. They're big, they're athletic, and those sort of guys that we mentioned with Ling, if they can stay in that position last line and they don't have to keep moving from the matchups and wait for the matchups to come to them, they're valuable. So it means they can play tall, small, play on the big marking types or the leading types, and those two guys can do that.
Okay, so half-time we're here at the Giants Stadium, 6-4-40 to 2-7-19. I'll quickly go through the goal scorers for the Giants: Green, Taranto, De Boer, Riccardi, Himmelberg and Lloyd, and Rowbottom and Papley for the Sydney Swans. A margin of 21 points. From a Giants perspective, a pretty solid first half of football there. Yeah,
it's been good. The conditions have been a bit tough, as you've called it. It's probably a bit hard to see on the screen, but here it's pretty misty and the ball's slippery. It's a great deck to play on, but they've been clean. They've tried to move the ball a bit quicker. They're outnumbering the forward line's been really good, which has allowed them to play the game a bit more in their forward half, and that's probably the big room for improvement off the back of last year, playing the game a bit more in their half and not waiting in their back 50 to turn it over.
From the flip side, if you're on the Sydney Swans team and coaching staff, what would you be saying? You're not going to go throw the toys out with the bathwater, but you'd be saying what at this stage?
Well, I think they've been pretty good. They've just missed some set shots. I think, what was Papley, 1 goal, 3, and they've been pretty gettable.
2 goals, 7 says it all, really.
Yeah.
10 shots to 9 in terms of scoring shots.
You'd be really happy if you're a Swan supporter. Yeah, quality players look good. Kennedy, Papley, Blakey's look good coming up the ground. You looked at their forward line when they went out there, and you had Reid, Haywood, Papley, Heaney. Heaney's been sensational in the first half, and then the guy sitting in the stands, Lance Franklin. That's an extremely potent forward line. We always know the Swans' defence is going to be tough. Rampy's not playing. They're hard to score against the Swans. They're always well organised. Sydney look good. Yeah,
so both sides have obviously started. From here to next week, what are you expecting? Just a bit more intensity for the first of the trial games, the first and only trial game, really?
Well, you've got the list in front of us. There's about 50 players for each, so I think they'll cut those lists down, and that increases the intensity, because not only the competition against each other, there's a competition within. So they're all you mentioned, there's a number of players who are looking for those opportunities. The senior players, they know they'll be there. We might see there might be 2 or 3 guys at each club competing for one spot. So that intensity dials up again.
Okay, Tom Hickey, one of the key players for the Swans. They've had horror run with injuries and the like with their ruckman. Callan Sinclair was absolutely fantastic, but he's not your key ruckman. No. He's your chip-in ruckman and your centre-half forward, high-marking forward that gives Buddy a reason to lead left, and he can drop back into the square. So Tom Hickey's a real keeper for the Swans.
And he's played a lot of game time, and I think that's an important thing. If he can be that...
He's very fit. He seems to have run a lot.
If he can play that 80% game time, it means you can leave Sinclair as the deep option. I mentioned that forward line that went out, to start the game. You have Sinclair coming out of the goal square. He can do the forward line rucking. Much in the way Richmond did a couple of years with Nankervis. He'd just go almost have the electric fence on the forward 50.
You're not allowed to bring up Nankervis when you're talking about the Sydney Swans. You do know that.
Well, I'm sorry. You had to pick one. You couldn't have 5 ruckmen on your list, but there's almost an electric fence on the forward 50. They just stay out. They get a bit of a rest. Sinclair can do the forward 50 ruck, but what he does provide is a target. And we've seen him have some big games for the Swans when he's played predominantly just as a forward.
Jimmy, in terms of this year, what are you hopeful from the Giants' perspective? If you were crystal balling, what would you like to see happen?
Oh, you expect finals. I know everyone mentions the players that went out, but you've called a number of them. There's still quality on every line.
Yeah, I don't think that the loss of Jeremy Cameron is going to be as massive as it was when I think Geelong have got just equally problems to try and fit him into the place. Yeah,
but he can play well off Hawkins, and that's Geelong, how they fit it in. They've added other players, experienced players. But from a Giants point of view, Taranto missed most of last year. Injuries have been an issue. These players who have been injured look fit. They look ready to go. They're actually out here having a hit out. Get a few more back. Braden Pruce through the middle of the year. Lockie Whitfield comes in the side. He's not out there today. Phil Davis adds a little bit more experience. And there's still a lot of quality there that should play finals. Yeah,
you start to think, okay, if those 3 or 4 blokes are back, and yes, you're probably going to lose 2 or 3 through injury along the way. That's just the nature of the beast. But you start to think, how do I fit this into a 22? And it's going to be difficult for plenty of these teams to try and do that. Appreciate your time. Don't forget, GWS membership, best way to get access. You can have the Canberra membership. You can have all sorts of things. I'll look into the camera. You can have the Canberra membership. You can have the Sydney-based membership. Families, corporate, you name it, you can get involved. And I will say, the corporate sector here at Giants Stadium is absolute peach. It's the best. It's one of the, I think it was voted the best place to watch footy at. The crowds aren't 50, 60,000, we know that, but it is a fabulous place to come out, plenty of parking. So GWS membership, just go to the Giants website, click on the button and get involved, as we see some of the younger players starting to do exactly that. And they'll be gearing up shortly and having a crack in the last 2 quarters of the game. Is there any one particular player that you're keen on checking out over the next sort of hour and a half?
No. I've just enjoyed watching some of the young players, the new draftees. You want to see how they fit. I've seen enough video of them, but you want to see them live and where they'll fit in the mix, or the midfield mix, or up forward. I've enjoyed watching
this kid Connor Stone, the St Kevin's captain from previous years.
St Kevin's are becoming a little bit of a factory out of Melbourne. Tim Taranto is an ex-St Kevin's kid as well.
It's like the Godolphin stable of kids going to play football. You know that it's well bred normally, and they know their stuff. But we look forward to seeing quite a few of those around. And of course, the Giants' first game, v St Kilda, on March 27. That's 1:45. The Adelaide Crows, March 27. The week before is
against the Saints.
St Kilda here for the GWS Giants. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back and have the second half of this match. At halftime, it's the Giants leading by 21.
Very special to be a part of. To play an AFL game, I guess, on the ground that I'd spent so many hours. Last year, round 5 in our AFLW season, having the opportunity to play in front of a home crowd just 40 minutes up the road from my home. Something that I'll never forget. To be involved in a club that extends its support base, not just in Sydney, but also around regional New South Wales, it's very special to be a part of. To play an AFL game, I guess, on the ground that I'd spent so many hours and days training and playing schoolgirls football, and to have my home club of Holbrook Football and Netball Club up on the Harvey Norman Hill was pretty special. I'll never forget walking around the fence, looking up and seeing so many people that I knew and meeting them over at the side of the fence for an amazing photo. It was quite a moment I'll never forget. The women's football has come huge lengths in only a short period of time. It's pretty cool, but I think the most important thing is pretty exciting for Giants to have these young girls and boys wanting to be a Giant one day, just like I was. 2 years into an AFLW game and having the crowds that we've had, it's like nothing I've ever played in. I just can't wait to do something like that again, and I hope it comes very soon.
Yeah, it's a tremendous honour and one that I'm take with both hands, and really looking forward to the challenge along with Parksy and Ramps and the rest of the leadership group. I learned so many things off all those guys, whether it's through leadership or how to play, how to prepare, mindset, or everything. I could be here all day talking about the impact that they've had on me, and along with a number of other players. So it's important to take those lessons, but also be true to yourself as well.
Tremendous honour to be voted in by your peers, to be viewed as a leader with such a great group we've got going at the moment. It is a great honour, and really looking forward to the challenge of driving and setting high standards here, and helping these young blokes develop a bit, and then putting some wins on the board this year. I've prided myself on being a team man and a selfless man, so it's great to be able to hear that. But in saying that, now I'm in the leadership group, I'll continue to work forward, continue to learn off the great leaders and the captains that we got at the moment in Joey Parks and Ramps, and then you've obviously got Bud and Millsy as well. So I'll continually learn off those guys, continually learn off the coaches, and then as well as the younger players, you can learn off them a little bit as well. So I'll continue to do that and hopefully perform on the weekend, because that's the main aim, is to be getting wins on the board. So really looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, I've come a long way with my leadership. I think I've got a good relationship with most guys, and I can be a sounding board to the younger guys, and that's where I like to think my leadership qualities are. Yeah, I think I'm a pretty upbeat sort of guy. I'm pretty aggressive, sort of always up and about. I think what they bring is a very calm composure, leadership, and that's something that I can take into my leadership. It's what I've done over the last couple of years, and I'll keep learning from them, and they're great leaders to learn off.
Leadership-wise, just that opportunity. Ramps obviously left the hub halfway through last year, so it left a bit of a void in our back six, and someone had to step up. And I think Harry Cunningham, myself, took that opportunity, which was good. And I'm just excited to the young group we've got this year to help us develop as quick as we can and get back to playing finals footy. You want to be trusted by your teammates when you run out there each and every week, and if they're voting me as part of their leadership group, they obviously trust me when they run out next to me, which is important.
I think it's a really exciting new chapter for the club. A lot of new faces. I'm pretty excited to see what we can do this year. I think above and beyond all that, I think the most exciting thing will just be see fans back at the games. I can't wait to hear the roar and see the red and white flood the SCG. I'm hoping that can be the case for round 2.
So just in terms of selection for the weekend, at this stage there's still a few balls in the air, but the probability will only make one change, but there's still a few balls in the air. And I will speak to everybody who's not playing tonight before you go home. But at this stage my expectation is that there will be only one change, and that will mean that Sydney will play our first game. place rehab, and there's lots of ups and downs. We're great to hear. Look forward to what you've got. Now,
Smitty, pre-training, found out that you're debuting for the Giants this weekend. How excited when we went out and confirmed the news?
Yeah, I had a bit of a tear in my eye. I was really excited. It's been a long time coming. So, yeah, I was super pumped. Parky was there to give me a big hug and the girls were around me. So, yeah, I was very excited.
You said you were quite emotional. We saw a lot of the players get around you and some of the support staff, including Gemma the physio. It has been quite a ride, so it must be extra special to, I guess, reach that milestone and run out on the ground.
Yeah, there's been heaps of people involved in my rehab, Gemma and Sim, two key people who've been involved in their support, and we've overcome all the challenges, which has been great. So yeah, sentiment to them and really grateful for their involvement, and all the girls just each week checking in, making sure I'm going well in rehab, because it can be a lonely place, but they've made it easier, that's for sure.
You are from Victoria, and this weekend heading down to Victoria to take on the Bulldogs. So it'd be extra special, no doubt, to have friends and family come along and see you run out in the orange and charcoal for the first time.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I think Mum and Dad will be absolutely pumped and over the moon to be there. Got a few family as well coming down, and yeah, they'll be super stoked. They've watched me play footy before, but it's a bit different when you've moved away interstate and haven't seen them for a while, so it'll be super special.
London Ashcroft, and I'm in the under-17s Swans Academy. I started playing football when I was 12. I only started because I was at my cousin's rugby game. My parents said I should start a team sport, so we decided to do AFL, and I started my first game the next day.
I started playing football when I was 12 years old. I started through school. I originally come from England, so my school teacher introduced it to me, and yeah, it just went from there. I continued playing ever since.
Because this is the first year for the 17s and 19s girls, the development of those players is really important. We're looking more so for, I think, game sense and a lot of structure now in what we're doing with the girls, and incorporating all the skills that they've brought through with them with the academy, really looking to take them to that next level with that competitiveness as well.
This year I'm looking forward to versing the Giants down in Canberra and in Sydney, so that'll be really exciting just to have a crack at footy again.
This year I'm definitely looking forward to the games, just having that experience, playing with a bunch of other experienced girls. It should be good.
It was a long time in the works. Obviously I've done some campaigns with Puma before. As soon as the football career came to an end, the opportunity popped up to get involved with Puma. The GWS Giants were the first client, so match made in heaven. So now we're going to run you through a few, obviously, the classic poses. We've decided to focus more on the G this year, matching it up with a little white Puma there, which is perfect. Not too high. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We want to see the G. Obviously we've got this one, which is again, emphasising the G. All orange, so that will stand out in a nightclub. Up a bit, you're on the logo, up, that's it. It triggers my senses. The feel of the footy, the touch of a ball, the taste of a win. Puma GWS, a Heath Shaw collection.
The Sydney you think you know isn't our city.
You think our lifestyle is laid back, relaxed? Wrong.
To all those that think like us, you're one of us.
And to those that underestimate us, you're lost.
Sydney Swans membership. Join the club.
So when the Giants had their first win, it was actually my birthday weekend. I got together with a group of friends and we couldn't quite make it down to Canberra. So we all got together, we watched the game.
Steps around, gives it to Giles, and Giles, the big man, with the biggest kick of his life.
We just kept winning, and then it happened and we won.
Historic occasion, the GWS Giants have won their first ever game in the AFL.
I also had a few friends that failed to understand AFL at that time. Side note, most of them are now members. I think at first it was because it was something new and it was something interesting. The Giants become an addition to your family. We work, we play, everything always comes back to family, and that's what this is. The Giants are family. If you're at a game and the number 41 is out there, your eyes are on him every time. You see him coming in, 1, 2, 3, and bang, that's it. The freight train has taken them out. Is he still alive? You need to come, you need to experience it. AFL Live is like nothing you've ever seen.
Unbelievable that hopefully the crowds can come back, the members can come back, and it's just as much for the players. The players thrive off the energy the crowd gives, the members give, and seeing them, appreciate the football is awesome to see. So fingers crossed, and we can get around and go to stadiums, and members and supporters can support their team, and we're no different in that regard. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, stick by us. We're looking forward to having a good year, and who knows what we can do with our group.
After a forgettable end to the 2020 season, we all looked towards 2021 with a sense of anticipation. We know nothing comes easy, and there's been curveballs at every turn. We've trained in sheds. We've trained in quarantine. And when we can, we've trained all together. We train hard, knowing what we're working towards. While most of Australia enjoyed a summer holiday, we packed up and moved to Albury to continue our preparations. Those that can't be there, like me, continue to work alone to be ready. We are a determined group, hungry for success. In 2021, there's unfinished business.
Sydney, the Emerald City. A place where money and lifestyle are the name of the game. A playground for the rich and famous. A sunny city blessed by good fortune. Nah.
The Sydney you think you know isn't our city.
Our Sydney is a hard city, forged with sweat and blood.
You think our lifestyle is laid back, relaxed? Wrong. We are relentless. The Blood story was forged with passion, discipline and courage.
We were born in South Melbourne in 1874.
And are still here because we are survivors.
We stand up in the big moments, on and off the field, and we're unapologetic in what we stand for.
So to all those that think like us, you're one of us.
And to those that underestimate us, your loss.
Welcome back, one and all. We're back at Homebush Stadium, Giants Stadium, for the second half of the major game between the Giants and the Sydney Swans at halftime. 6-4-40, 2-7-19, 21-point margin to the Sydney Swans. Had a tweet and a question in the break about the 6 quarters. Of course, that is a bit of a silly thing to say, because you cannot have 6 quarters. 6 periods in this game, and you'll see some of the rookies come out in the next half an hour or so and see their wares. Most of those players are being used in the last 5 in quarters, in periods numbers 5 and 6. So we're underway again. This is the 3rd term of this game as Florent takes the ball for the Swans, kicks it inside 50. Conditions have worsened over the last 10 or 15 minutes. Papley tries to get rid of it, goes as far as McDonald. He does well, gives it off, and the goal has been kicked by James Bell, and that's a lovely start to the quarter by the Sydney Swans. Good desperation, exactly what they needed, exactly what John Longmire would have liked them to do to start this quarter. They were a little lax in their finishing in the first 2 periods, but that was a nice finish from Bell, and he gets the first goal of the 3rd term. So The Swans kick it along to 3 goals, 7-25, 6-4-40. The GWS Giants will be joined very shortly by Dane Rampy. Ramps is going to come up and help me out in the next period or two. And as well as that, we'll also hear from Phil Davis. Hello, mate. How's things? As he puts on the headphones, missed the first goal. You'd have been unhappy about that, or
they've already scored.
They've already scored, mate.
Gee willikers.
We'll just get that microphone turned down just a tad for Ramps as we get underway again. So,
good.
James Bell got a little handoff from Reedy, and away he went. Reed's nickname.
Reedy.
So we have a family nickname. We call him Buckets.
Buckets. Why's that?
Because sometimes he needs 2 buckets for the ball to sit in, because the ball goes to ground a bit too often. Harsh but fair, my family. Anyway, continue as the ball gets kicked out of the centre square by the Giants. Nichols has found a free kick. It'll go the way of Harry Himmelberg, just inside the square, Giants end of the ground. And we see again the man on the mark, just like a scarecrow, just absolutely scared to move as it goes inside 50. Riccardi missed it. Getting back, well done, was Florent. Cleared the danger zone towards Perryman. He dropped the mark. Hayward gets involved for the Swans, but Mills, who's now in the midfield and seems to have enjoyed that first couple of periods in the midfield.
Yeah, he's loving it. He's been flirting with the idea for the past few years, but ever since Pikey's come on board, he's given him the green light. I think he's going to be staying there for hopefully most of the season.
Well, he had a heap of touches in that opening stanza, probably 6 or 7, as the ruck contest between Flynn and Hickey, another couple of players who've done well in the first half of this match, this 4-quarter seniors match, before the rookies and the other players get involved in the last 2 quarters. As we see Reed take it to ground, Bell gets involved, tackled by Taylor for the Giants, and also Taranto. He's not going anywhere. We'll have a ball up just outside the centre square. So yeah, the Hickey and both ruckmen, Flynn and Hickey, have done well in the early stages.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Hick today. He's been quite clean with a few marks, especially considering the conditions, and a few times been out of position and just brought the ball to ground, which is essentially all we want, especially, as I said, it's nice and wet. We've been really impressed with what he's brought so far.
Well, you were out on the ground. How it looks obviously misty and slippery and all of that sort of thing. Is it getting quite heavy?
Yeah, I think the ball's pretty waterlogged as well, as you'd expect, and yeah, it's showing. It's showing at times, isn't it?
Not a great scenario. We've seen a couple of good things from the Swans. Goal kicking, forget about that for the moment. It's about opportunities and getting the chance to score goals, and the rest will come. But similar scoring shots in this game, but at the moment it's a 15-point margin. You would have liked to have seen a couple of better finishes, but it's not panic stations.
Yeah, not at all. But I mean, I think the good thing is we're getting in positions to score, which at times in the past, probably 12 to 18 months, we've really struggled with. Just let this passage unfold.
Finlayson from outside with the right boot, and it's a handy shot at goal. I think he was trying to set it up for Green or somebody else inside the goal square, but it didn't quite work. It was Riccardi who was running onto it, but didn't quite work. And you'd be very happy with this rule, the get out of my zone rule.
Absolutely.
Everything, you've had one that's been for you and one that's kind of gone against you. Being a defender, as someone's kicking for goal, you can't move, you can't do anything, or can you jump up and down?
You can jump up and down. The last 2 years there's actually been a number of rules come in that uncharacteristically help the defenders. They had the hand in the back one, which you could have an open face with the hand in the back as opposed to just the bumper bars, which does help. And obviously this one here with the more offensive weapon is the man on the mark being moved back 10 metres.
Yeah, and it makes life very easy, and I suppose you'd be looking from a defender, the key area is to get it into the centre circle, and then I think the target will be one kick there and then you're sort of in the
it's just
zone.
Get it out of there, and hopefully, especially a player like Jordan Dawson, take the 10 to 15 metres, and with a big kick like his, you're out on the wing within 4 to 5 seconds, which makes it a lot easier to defend, obviously.
He's coming with the ball in the centre of the ground. That's off the side of the boot. There's a couple of changes for the Giants. You'll see Hutchison in 20, Sproul in 28, Shipley in 34, all getting there as starts in this third period of the game. What about the Swans? Has anyone been brought in?
I think we expect to see Joel and Marty at some stage. Isaac Heaney's on limited minutes, although he's still out there. But I think he'll be wrapping up if not during this quarter, then definitely by the fourth.
Extenders, Joel and Marty, we need surnames?
Sorry?
Joel Amarty.
Joel Amarty, yeah.
Joel Amarty.
Yeah.
I thought you said Joel and Marty. As we see Papley directing traffic, calling players left, right and centre. One of those is Heaney. Takes the bounce. Heaney had to wait for it to sit up. Then sees Haywood, who should have taken that mark. Sinclair's in there as well for the Swans, but Haynes will help clear it for the Giants. And he's a cool, calm customer. And even opposition defenders just love the way that he's got that beautiful ability to float across the packs. This guy's really impressed me. That is a definite handy boot. He just drills it. He sort of runs like Kieran Jack a bit, doesn't he?
He does a little bit. Yeah, that's a good comparison. We've loved what he's brought early on. Obviously, a high draft pick for us. And
where does he play?
Well, generally in these 18s, he played midfield and half forward, but we've tried him off the half back, and especially with this man on the mark, well, we really like he's electric paced, and we really like him attacking that man on the mark. And breaking the lines. So, as we see, big giant on off the ball.
Toby Green and it looks like Matt Ling, even in trial games, Toby Green can either be the victim or claim he's the victim, and that was certainly out from where I'm sitting as Melican, dangerous across the face of goal and across the ground, but Blakey does well, and little soccer skills, and almost trips up Callan Ward, but comes out to the advantage of the Giants, or does it? Green, dispossessed, comes back. That was nice from Mills, just check side almost for Kennedy, and then it comes out to Campbell again. The thing about it is he can tell from here that he's not as big-bodied because he's only a young bloke. That'll all obviously come with time, and he certainly will end up in the midfield. It's just a matter of when, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, he lacks a little bit of size at the moment, but what he doesn't lack is competitiveness, and that's really important for a young player coming in, almost half the battle. So, he'll develop in time, but we're really liking, as I said, what we've seen from him so far.
Okay, Matt Nichols is bringing the player back on the mark, and this is Perryman. So, are the umpires okay with this in the early stages? Is there a fair bit of explaining of what they're doing, or they just expect you to know, or how to?
We've had the umpires down at training the last couple of weeks, so they've been really helpful, really talking through baby steps with us. But I think today they're not doing too much. We're expected to know, and I think that's the best way to do it is kind of learn the hard way and work from there.
Yes, Riccardi's thrown over the boundary line by Hickey. I'm really impressed with Hickey's running ability. I mean, obviously Ruckman have to get over the ground and have to be very, very fit, but he's got a high leap when he goes for a mark, but also his ability to get across the ground's quite fast. So high hopes for Swans fans with their ruck pickup of Tom Hickey, who's, as we said earlier, this is his fourth club. Surprising for a guy you haven't heard too much about, but hopefully you can find a place here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're really liking him in the middle of the ground. And what that does as well is allow Callum Sinclair to play what we recruited him for, which was as that forward come ruckman. So
yeah.
Sinks has been battling really manfully the last couple of years and doing a stellar job, but it's going to work him into the ground if we just keep playing him. I wouldn't say out of position, but, not what he was drafted at the club to do. So that's why I think he's loving having Hickey just as much as anyone.
Well, and from a simple, as players tackle...
Cyril Goulden.
Yeah, Goulden. He's done well. Perryman, a player that was penalised for incorrect disposal. So, and while he's got the ball, what has Goulden shown you in the early stages?
That he's just a smart footballer. Again, like Braden, lacking a little bit of size, but he's just got an elite work ethic, work rate, and runs all day, and just a really good user of the footy.
Well, I just noticed that he kicked that ball to basically full forward, and he would have been, by the time the ball hit the ground, he would have been 10 or 12 metres away from its landing position. So the old rule of you run to where you kick it, he's just taken that to a new level just then.
Yeah, it's been uncanny the times he's been popping up in training drills and in our scratch matches the last few weeks. There's one thing is running hard and using your work rate when you're under 18 level, but he's just been popping up in all the right places and hasn't missed a beat really.
There's another one, Will Gould. Jeez, he's a big boy, isn't he?
He's a big boy.
So I just looked at him, he looked like a tank just coming down there.
That's what we like. We like him throwing his weight around, and he's been given licence to do that.
He's a 20-year-old, was picked 26 in the 2019 draft, and had a little bit of an interrupted year, but this is his first time essentially playing a senior game of footy Not that it's going to be counted as that, but he wants to make his mark, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really tough for our first-year players last year. Obviously, those ones that weren't playing regular senior footy in the team were getting, 10v10 scratch matches against, say...
Yeah, I think it started at 15-15, and then by the end of the season it was basically...
Yeah, of course. So it would have been really tough for them. Lost a little bit of momentum in their footy, in their development. So you can just tell these kids, like Chad Warner as well, are just looking forward to getting a full season under their belt and, I guess, applying all the craft they've learned over the first few months at the club.
I think Will Gould spent a fair bit of that bubble time in the gym because he is absolutely huge and he's got arms like I've not seen.
Big farmer's arms.
Farmer's arms. So he came to the place with big arms. So he didn't just build them up over the last 18 months. As you see, the Chad punched that one over the boundary line. Chad Warner, again, a little bit about him. Number 39 back in 2019 was draft picked and made his debut last year, round 6 v Richmond. So what can he bring to the table, Rams?
He's just a little bit like Gould. He loves the physicality of the contest, and at times last year we had to hold him back a bit because just injuring his players and teammates and even taking out coaches at times in the training drills. But yeah, again, he's just looking to improve on last year. Really excited for him that he got a taste of it last year, and he's one of those kids that just look after himself. He's professional, he's driven, almost too driven at times. He gets the blinkers on and just so focused on what he's doing that he needs to, I guess, worry about just his role in the team. But you love working with those sort of players because they're easy to coach and mainly you see a lot of improvement in them.
Okay, as the Swans working it towards the forward line, there is McDonald. A bit of a fumble to Bell, tried to tap it out to a teammate, got to Hayward, which was nice. Then it gets kicked inside and high. Parker's underneath it, roving the pack beautifully. Errol, and then he gave it off to Bell, who fumbled it. Good physicality again, this time from Sam Wicks, another one of the newer players. He was elevated from the rookie B to the rookie A list and played a few games so far, so we might see a bit more of him throughout the course of the year as Dawson gets dispossessed, kicked off the ground by the Giants towards half back. Now Melican.
That's Braden Campbell.
That's Campbell.
Just got caught there. But
yeah, got rid of it though. That was
looking to take the game on, which is what we've given him license to do. And
rugby league tackle there. That was Finlayson just picked him up and dumped him. He would have been 10 minutes in the bin for that tackle. A normal NRL game. I just like the left. There's not too many left footers, and you're one of them, that don't have a beautiful silky action, is it? I mean, some of the right footers are all. Kieran Jack's probably one of the ones that doesn't follow the rule. He was sort of a rugby league, taught himself how to kick AFL style, but the likes of Finlayson and this Braden Campbell, just beautiful.
Jordan Dawson as well.
Yeah,
beautiful
lovely
kicks.
As the Giants wheel it towards Riccardi on centre wing, comes back from Parker. Parker goes wide, kick is high towards half forward, getting in amongst it for the Giants was Buckley, and it's now in the hands of Hopper. He gave it off Cornelio, ducks and weaves, gets through a few tackles, then has to get rid of it. Hopper goes in to help. Buckley again, his kick smothered. High one there. Iden taps it to himself, but not quite effectively, and now we'll have a boundary throw in, will we? Yes, we will. Just outside forward 50 for the Sydney Swans. 15 points the margin, and we've played around about 14 minutes, I believe, of this third period. And we'll try and get, just under 14 minutes of this third period. The clock, unfortunately, not working as much as we'd like it to work, so all the players and coaches know what the time is, but we just up in the commentary box do not. Dane Rampy, Russ Barwick helping you out on this trial game. And it's starting to get a little bit sloppy, but the cream is rising to the top. Kelly, Parker, Heaney and the like. And you would have been impressed with what you've seen of Josh Kelly there, Ramps. He's been very, very silky so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The cream rises to the top in these sort of conditions. And, we saw Toby Green, beautiful skills, clean skills in the first half. And, same with Josh Kelly. Those sort of guys I'd prefer to play against because it's sometimes just watching, and sit in awe at what they're doing. But, yeah, I don't really have much else for you on that one.
No, you probably update me. We've had a Twitter question that's come in as you'd be happy for Dusty to come in and join if you offered a spot at your joint to ensure that he's got
I'll happily offer him a spot at my joint. I'm sure we can find a spot for him somewhere
to stay
in the forward line. When's his contract out?
Loretta's got time on. I think her alarm is set. 2024, she's saying. As that kick is beautiful from Ollie Florent. That's gone straight through the middle. So the Swans now narrow it up to 9 points. Reasonable margin given the fact that I don't think the Giants have scored in this third period. No, they haven't. The Swans have kicked a couple of goals. So as you can see there on screen, 11 scoring shots to 10 probably is a fair reflection of where the game is. And the margin 9 points, 6-4-40 to 4-7-31. And that was a nice mark, sliding mark in the conditions.
Just another example of Errol Gordon just in the right spot again, and just a beautiful kick on both sides of his body, really. So that's what we've really liked about him. We've struggled at times in the past, probably the past 2 years now, at our inside 50 entries. We've lacked a little bit of quality, but Errol Gordon brings exactly what we need in that regard. We retain possession a lot of the times that he kicks the ball inside 50.
Here's the Chad
Here he is
Warner,
again.
and just goes wide. And let's just see what he's got. Just watching him now, spins around. Has he got a right foot? Because straight away I know that he's placed.
No, he's really good on both sides of the body.
Okay, because I spotted him on that side of the ground. You think, and if he's got a dominant left foot, sometimes you've got to think to yourself, well, maybe he's not got a right foot. And that's something that Nick Blakey's got to work on, because obviously he definitely favours the left boot. Like most people favour, that's a bit of a communication battle, but they get the boot to ball and it's going to be off the kneecap, so no out of bounds on the full there. So you think that Goulden and Braden Campbell will both be in the mix for the opening game of the season?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely tracking that way. And Logan McDonald, who's holding up a key forward spot at the moment. So yeah, it's really exciting for our club and obviously for them as well and their families. And it all comes down to really these next few practice matches. So looking forward to seeing what they can serve up.
Could be a budgetary reason, save on travel if they're playing at home and they make their debut, of course. But that will be.
I don't think that's going to come into it.
That will be something for the stats guys to find that 3 first-round draft picks make their debut on the first round of the following season. I reckon that the statisticians will be going long and hard to find out if that actually happens, and let's hope it does, because it'll be exciting for, as you say, players and families alike.
I think the last time we had 3 debutants in round 1 was 2016. And,
but did they come from the previous year's draft?
Oh, that's a good question. We had Millsy, Paps, and George Hewitt. No, it wasn't. No, George would have been here around.
He was on a rookie list and got elevated, didn't he? Or?
Yeah, correct. Oh no, Georgie was he got drafted in the main draft, but just took a little while to, I guess, push. Oh, not push out, but
find his place.
Learn his craft and do what he needed to do to get to AFL level.
Here's a chance for the Giants. A cheeky little left footer from Finlayson gave some space to Himmelberg. He now decides to beautifully look up and find a teammate inside 50, and that is a lovely kick. And that's O'Halloran. Xavier O'Halloran, who's already got a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a quote-unquote weird cat. Apparently he's the one, when you hear them coming out, the yelling and the screaming, that's predominantly him, according to my man inside the Giants. And here he is, another one of these young players, Xavier O'Halloran. Don't know a lot about him at the moment, but I think he might have debuted last year round 10, but he's kicked that goal, so the Giants kick out to another 14-point lead at this stage. Late in this third period of this game between the Giants and the Sydney Swans. You're back next week? You going to suit up in the...
I'll be suiting up next week, yeah, absolutely. Yep. I've had a really good training block post-Christmas, and after quite a bit of time off, had four months sitting around twiddling my one and only thumb that was working, and really looking forward to getting back into it, and it's just good to have footy back.
Well, you forget the fact that you guys normally get a chance to at least sneak away and go overseas or go somewhere for the off-season. That hasn't happened. So, it was difficult for everyone. You're a Sydney local. Potentially a little bit easier for you because you could just fit back into your normality. Some of the other guys like to go back home, and whether that be Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, some couldn't go back to Perth, for example.
Yeah, I mean, obviously tough year for everyone. I mean, I've got nothing to complain about. I was at home with my friends and family. Yes, I would have liked to get away maybe, but in the grand scheme of things, it's
pretty minor, isn't it?
Yeah, very minor. We were quite lucky. Obviously, New South Wales didn't have a lot of lockdowns apart from that first one when it first started back in March. So think a lot of the boys just use the opportunity to, keep growing, that bond and relationships that we developed in the hub together. We really enjoyed the experience, and although the boys would have loved to have got home for a lot of them back into state, I think we've really enjoyed. Well, I know we've really enjoyed having each other, spending that time in the off season together. I think it's going to hold us in really good stead moving forward.
You didn't get the dirts with and didn't want to see anyone by the end of it. You're saying I don't want to see any of you for another 3 weeks. It wasn't nothing like that, was it?
Well, I got sent home. I was on a flight midway. I'd spent 1 week in Perth and then had to fly back to Sydney for surgery. So I didn't really get to that stage of the trip. But by all reports, it didn't really happen. The boys were, I think, moving around. We went to Brisbane, then to Perth, and then the boys finished up in Cairns. So there's a little bit of moving around, and it didn't get too stale from all reports.
Yeah, and you forget about some of the travel arrangements. I was speaking with Alice Parker, who's one of the Giants AFLW players. I think in one 48-hour period, they went from Sydney to Canberra to Albury to Adelaide, back to Canberra or something, not knowing what the heck they were doing. So it was phenomenally tough for all athletes, not only AFL players, obviously rugby league players, but at the end of the day, as we've said plenty of times, just happy to get games on the board as we see the ball's inside 50 for the Giants. The margin 14 points their way. Hopper over the top. Neat little one to Riccardi, who just heard the footsteps, decided to take cover and turned it over. Parker in there as well. Warner gets his right boot to ball. Bell charging in there with a bit of courage, which is nice to see. Off the deck went Kennedy. And he'd be a player that would really like some of these young guns and bulls getting involved, and we'll get back to that shortly. Haywood has spotted up the lead there nicely of McDonald, but good work defensively there by Oden, I should say.
Again, don't want to harp on it, but Errol Goulden again just creating a 50-50 and creating a score in the end. Probably should have capitalised a little bit better on that, but that's what he does. He creates opportunities, and yeah, we love having him out there.
I think we can pretty much lock Errol Goulden into the starting side.
I'm campaigning for him, aren't I?
Mate, if you've got anything to do with it, I do believe you tossed the coin at the start. You might have to have a word to Horse and say, well, I don't care what's going on, but 21's playing.
No, he can go out and toss the coin.
So there you go. There's your exclusive hints. Got a couple of journos floating around looking for something to write about, and there it is. Errol Goulden likely to play next week, and rightly so, just has fitted in perfectly. So too Braden Campbell and Logan McDonald as well up forward. Hasn't had the opportunities. Not an ideal day for a tall forward, as Bell gets his boot to ball from about 25 out and kicks another goal. So the Swans get it back to within 7 points. And Bell gets his second, the only multiple goal kicker for we've kicked into the afternoon. So the only multiple goal kicker for the afternoon. Russ Barwick alongside Dane Rampy as they rein in the changes. Do you think that will have much of an effect on the game? The 90 down to, 75 on the interchange?
I think so, yeah. I think it really will. It was only a few years ago, but it feels like a long time since rotations of with the shortened games last year. Back to the full game this year, and then also reducing those interchanges. Yeah. I think the aerobic running and the real high speed gut running is going to come into play a lot more, particularly with the way the man on the mark is. It's going to be zinging up and down the ground, especially in cleaner conditions, a lot more, and it's going to really test out those blokes that can run out a match.
How many times you normally come off in a match? Once a quarter, maybe?
Oh, I wish. Usually it's been on average it's been about once a game. So
is that right?
Yeah, I come off at the back end of the third quarter usually, rest up for the fourth. We tried to change that a little bit last year, just with the intensity of the games and obviously shorter turnarounds, and I really enjoyed that, just getting off for a quick spell. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the rotations.
Okay, so here we go with Dane Rampy. Just some insights are good. Just ticking over 20 minutes in this third period as the ball goes forward. Hickey had a chance to take that mark. Getting back is Cornelio. Spins it off the right boot. That mark should have been taken by Blakey, but it wasn't. So that's a high tackle. The umpires missed it. Green. And that's Tom version it was.
He's a good player, Green, isn't he?
He is. He's a bull. Buckley getting involved for the Giants. Green again.
Teammates now.
He's just smashing anyone. And one of his teammates has looked up and said, "What were you doing?" That might have been young Tanner Bruin.
Yeah, he looks like a really good kid. Obviously, really composed in the scrimmage. Something that just a lot like Scott Pendlebury, just kind of takes the arms over and finds space. And
Green, you're talking about?
Yeah, Tom Green.
They've got a big rap on him, as we were talking earlier with Jimmy Bartell. Nice work there from Papley.
Speaking of Toms, he's a pretty special player too.
1-4 though.
1-4 is it?
1-4 for Paps.
I'll get him out of the way in the pre-season game. That's fine.
That's fine. Exactly. And this is another situation. You see Will Hayward, most blokes can't kick 40 metres, and he's 40 metres from the goal square. So it really, if there's a turnover, it really does open up basically the fullback, or the person kicking in is the only person back in the square.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to reset your defensive line very, very quickly. And there's one of the new faces for the Giants getting involved. That looked like Shipley, it was. Comes the way of Fox. Dropped that one cold, but he got away with it. And the umpire's going to let him get away with it as well. Hutchison, the tackler, so he's a new boy for the Giants as well. Do you keep much of an eye on the other sides and the other teams, or just in your neck of the woods like the other forwards and key players that you'll be manning up?
I'm interested in footy. I mean, I watch as much footy as I can. Not over the top. Just I enjoy watching Friday night games, but in terms of, I guess, the new players coming in, I won't pay too much notice unless they're playing seniors. But the Giants have brought in a lot of new young faces the last couple of years, and you can see them, particularly guys like Green, that are just ready-made. Yeah,
they just have that sort of look and feel about them.
And a lot of the young fellas coming in now are just so professional. It must be something in the programs that I guess the general development programs, when you're going up through TAC Cup and state leagues or whatever, it's quite stark, the difference from when I started. It's probably only, what is it now, 8 years ago. Didn't have to seem to spoon feed kids as much as you used to. They come in really professional, really driven, and drive their own careers, which is a pleasure to work with when you're a senior player and trying to show them the way.
Do you get frustrated if they don't have that, or do they get found out very quickly?
Well, you don't get frustrated, because they've got to learn. Everyone learns at their own pace. I didn't get drafted until I was 22, and that wasn't because I didn't get drafted, because I genuinely wasn't ready. So I like to put myself in myself in their shoes and see how they're feeling. I don't think the word is frustrated, but there's always a little bit of urgency as to helping them get to the potential that they can get to. That's just coming from a senior player that wants to succeed, and everyone to I guess the depth of the team to really. Has he got that one through?
Yeah, put that one down to your man.
Was that from Errol Goulden again?
Yeah, Errol Goulden. And he looked up. What I liked is he looked up. He had two options. He had Papley one-on-one, and he didn't go short. He went long and just trusted Papley's speed. So he basically was an ugly barrel from Goulden that just worked it, and you could see there Papley v. Isaac coming over pace over 10 metres. You'd back Paps every day of the week.
It's a great decision in the conditions, and that's again what we like about Errol is his decision making. He's a real footballer. That was the percentage play. Get it into Paps, and he'll beat most blokes in the forward 50, especially on a wet day when the ball hits the deck.
24 minutes gone, and we're all tied up 7 goals 4 to 6 goals.
I'm
10.
giving Errol an absolute rap, aren't I?
You are.
Well, the Giants really took a seat back and had to think about that. I need to ease up.
Giants have only kicked the 1 goal in this quarter. The Swans, on the other hand, have kicked 4. So good
I don't
signs.
want to put too much pressure on him.
No,
he'll handle it though.
And he's back. They've already got the back page lead on the papers tomorrow. Can't wait for the Herald Sun and the Age and all of that to be reporting this.
Oh, no, it's back page news, mate.
The next big thing, I think the editor's starting to punch out there on the headlines already. And this is Hutchison, does well, tries to avoid the tackle, gave it off to Taranto. So we're seeing some new players get involved, and they seem to have fitted in nicely as the siren goes. 25 minutes, the third period, and the fourth period in this game. So nice way to do it. 46 apiece, all tied up after 3 periods of this game. Ramps, I won't keep you for too much longer, but I enjoyed your insight there, and I really appreciate it. And you go back to when you said you were drafted, and it was 8 years ago, you came through a different system in the sense that you were playing Sydney footy and just threw your hand up and said, I want to see whether anyone's interested. Was that the case, or did
I spent, straight after school, I spent a couple of years down in Melbourne playing for Williamstown, essentially chasing getting drafted. But after that didn't happen probably 3 or 4 times in a row, I probably came back to Sydney tailing between the legs a little bit. But I guess I was just lucky that I stayed fit and I stayed interested. And when a chance came up to come to, we were actually playing out here, the NEPL team, playing the reserves. I grabbed it with both hands, and I think it was almost like a free hit. So I was playing.
So at that stage, you were playing just Sydney Footy League.
I was playing for University of New South Wales. That's actually
the Bats.
They're the Bulldogs.
Oh, the
UTS
Bulldogs,
Bats.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where Nick Blakey played a few games. Errol was down there. Who else do we have? We have
young Bartholomew. Does he play there as well?
No, he was a Sydney Uni boy.
Yeah.
We had Brandon Jack's playing there at the moment.
Yep,
Obviously, Kieran Jack's brother, and who's the other one? We had Jordan Foote there. He was a Bulldogs player. So yeah. Anyway, mate, I'm going to take off. I'm not going to annoy everyone too much longer.
No,
but
thank you very much. It was fantastic insight. And if you're wanting to be a part of the Swans, don't forget membership. The best way to access the game. They've introduced the Flexi membership. Caters for every situation. You join the club and you pay as you go. Planning on stadium, 75% capacity. You'd love 36,000 there for the Adelaide Crows game, which is March 27, Saturday afternoon at the SCG. It's just the best place to be on a Saturday afternoon, 1:45. Thank you very much,
Thanks
Dane
again,
Rampy,
mate. Cheers.
captain of the Sydney Swans, helping us out here as we will take a break and get set for a exciting final term when you consider 7-4-46 apiece. 7-4-46, 6-10-46. So scores tied up with a quarter to go in this main game before we have the additional quarters. We won't be covering those additional quarters from a commentary point of view. Will we? No, we won't be covering it at all. So the next quarter, we'll see who wins this trial match. And don't forget, they are playing again in a trial next week, both these two teams as part of the Amy Community Series. Take a short break and we'll chat to you very shortly.
Absolute highlight, that first win against the Gold Coast in 2012.
Historic occasion, the GWS Giants have won their first ever game in the AFL.
That's when we started to see that sea of orange at Barnaca.
The atmosphere here is always great. There's always plenty of Giant support. You know, and there's never too much of a line for a beer or a pie.
So our seat is in the Bradman stand. We're never going to give them up. There's no doubt about that. You're close to the action, so it allows for fast and free-flowing football that's a joy for spectators to watch.
Such a beautiful ground to play footy on. The standard of footy is amazing. You feel a part of it. That's the key thing for me.
Come along. It's great. There's always something happening. The noise of the crowd, the action on the field, plenty of goals. 10 years in, now it's a sea of orange and Manuka Oval is Giants country.
It's been great to see people in person again. Launch our 2021 season here, hosted by QBE at the SCG, and real sense of optimism, excitement. Looking back over the SCG, we're here in round 2 against the Crows after we take on the Lions up in Brisbane. So all starting to heat up the games now, and can't wait to get stuck into it.
We're here with the QBE season launch, and it's great to see some faces that we haven't seen for a while, obviously social distance, but it's awesome to be here. These guys have stuck with us thick and thin, and it's just a small token of our appreciation being here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely great to be back at the SCG. I mean, this is fantastic in itself to have people back at the SCG after what we went through, all people went through last year. Is that this is just so exciting and great to really get a real thank you to a lot of our special partners that stuck with us last year and are with us again in 2021.
Round 2 against Geelong out here. We had I think it was about a 10-point win. He had the big Mumford hit on Duncan. Oh, the big Mumford great. It's fantastic. Wilbert took a big specky down here in the forward pocket. Stevie J, the oohs and ahs against his old side, sledging everybody. It was great. I didn't have any voice. The noise of the crowd, the action on the field, plenty of goals, big tackles, big hits. My son Jack was in heaven. He looks down on us. He died earlier that year, big Giants fan. When they win, I can see him jumping around like he's still alive. So his younger brother Ben, who's now 9, he's like full on into his footy. Yeah, Giants, special place in my heart for my son Jack.
Sydney, the Emerald City. A sunny city blessed by good fortune. Nah.
Our Sydney is a hard city, forged with sweat and blood.
You think our lifestyle is laid back? Relax? Wrong. We are relentless.
To all those that think like us, you're one of us.
And to those that underestimate us, you're lost.
Sydney Swans membership. Join the club.
Absolute highlight, that first win against the Gold Coast in 2012.
Historic occasion. The GWS Giants have won their first ever game in the AFL.
That's when we started to see that sea of orange at Barnaca.
The atmosphere here is always great. There's always plenty of Giant support. You know, and there's never too much of a line for a beer or a pie.
So our seat is in the Bradman stand. We're never going to give them up, there's no doubt about that. You're close to the action, so it allows for fast and free-flowing football that's a joy for spectators to watch.
Such a beautiful ground to play footy on. The standard of footy is amazing. You feel a part of it. That's the key thing for me.
Come along, it's great. There's always something happening. The noise of the crowd, the action on the field, plenty of goals. 10 years in, now it's a sea of orange and Manuka Oval is Giants country.
So it's welcome back here to Giants Stadium. Big note that Russ Barwick, who's been joining us for the last 3 quarters, has had to leave. You can catch him this afternoon on SEN up here in Sydney, and we thank Russ for his work this afternoon. But joining us up in this final term that we're covering here on Giants TV and Swans TV, Phil Davis.
Craig, thanks for having me. I'm just getting my voice ready to try call by call at some point, but let's leave it to you for a bit as the game rolls out and Cummings slaps it forward.
How's it coming there at the bottom of the pack? Quick kick out of the pack. I think it was off the boot of, it was Josh Kennedy, and has just missed. So the Swans take the lead early in this final term, with Cumming set to kick out for the Giants. Been interesting that today, Phil, the kick-outs they've really been showing a bit of length on the kicks, getting the ball well into the centre square.
Yeah, it's obviously the new rule has come even further into fruition this year with an extra 5 metres, which meant you can really run and carry. And I think the conditions. Well, let's roll the handball from Himmelberg. Hits Bruin, has his first shot in an AFL game, and he slides it through, Craig.
Tanner Bruin with his first goal in the orange and charcoal. As that was a real kick, and then that was the benefit of that long kick through the middle of the ground.
Yeah, definitely. Back. Let's go 2 years ago. Most of the time when you did a kick out, you'd probably only kick it close to the wing and about 60 out. Now you're talking, you're all of a sudden 2 kicks from goal, and there hasn't been a lot of adventurous kicking in today, which I think we'll see when the weather dries up. It's been relatively wet, but you can definitely see that distance you can get by running, carrying it 10 metres, kicking it 50 or 60. Before you know it, you're almost in the centre circle if you go straight down the guts.
So what can you tell us about Tanner Bruin, Phil?
Yeah, obviously he was a high draft pick last year for us. Didn't play a lot of footy last year with COVID, and even the year before with a minor knee injury, but he's someone that's sort of come in and he's definitely a ferocious competitor, and he's very tough. And I think if you've watched him tonight, he's actually got his hands on the ball a lot, which is a very, very good sign.
And we have been getting some insight from Dane Rampy on their round 1 team. Phil, what would you say to the Giants fans and the Supercoach players about Tanner Bruin's chances of round 1?
I think he's a good selection in Supercoach. I think the thing about him is he's playing a sort of mid-forward role, He's probably not going to get a go in the midfield. We're pretty stacked through there and got a couple to come back through still. But I think he'll play AFL footy this year. I think he might be... he'll have to play pretty well in the next couple of games, to get a spot in round one and kick out one of those more experienced players. But he's definitely got a huge, huge future.
All up in the forward 50 for the Giants, but the Swans are able to clear. They go straight through the middle, kick out of the air. Nice little chip there, but only lands in the arms. Nick Blakey wants to go lateral, but there's plenty of Giants around there. Just a little bit of miscommunication, and the Swans come away with it. Parker, he goes wider again. Swans just working this well down the far side of Giants Stadium. They've got the numbers. Iden mops up for the Giants, although he's tackled. And Cumming gets it out to Nick Haynes. Haynes wants to come inside, gives it off to Taranto. He's tackled well. And a good tackle there from Logan McDonald. Sees the Swans go into attack. Whistle on this one. The umpire's seen something.
Free kick to Sam Reid for the holding of the arm. Just don't be disconcerted there, people at home watching the boundary line, as you see players running. I think De Boer and Green just flashed past after Kelly, because a few of the players have been pulled for the day, include Kelly, De Boer and Green, but they'll be doing some extra running, so expect them to see on the outer side doing some kilometres for this last quarter.
Sam Reid comes in, measured kick, umpire doesn't move, and the Swans have got another one on the board, and they bring that margin back. Well, in fact, they take the lead, 7-11-53. The Giants 8-4-52. Phil, an update on yourself. Where are you at in terms of your return to footy?
Going well. I've been in main train for the last few weeks now, so had a big hit out this morning with about 6 other players today, just getting some more kilometres in the legs. Hoping to play next weekend in some capacity. I'm not sure how that'll look, but I'll be expecting to play next weekend. Then we have a trial match the weekend after, and then round one. So feeling pretty fit at the moment. Just got a few more boxes to tick to hopefully return to play.
You say in some capacity, is that deep forward? Is that what you say?
I think that forward line's looking a bit too good to have a big anchor like myself just camped down there. So that's more of a break in the case of emergency sort of situation, which was done last year, I believe, against Essendon.
Yeah, we do remember that. We thought we were going the wrong way. You thought you'd gone out the wrong end. There's a ball back in the centre. Coming away with it was Florent. His kick inside 50. Good contest there. Haynes with clean hands, but tackled as he takes the ball. Ash, once again, heavy tackling, and the umpire's sent a free kick. It's a push in the back. We'll come back to Lockie Ash for the Giants.
It's been an interesting game. Obviously, with the weather, you probably don't get to practice some of the things you've really wanted to practice over summer, but it's been a game of doing the basics really well. And obviously Sydney have been very good again. The ball in their front half, kicked 7-11. We've kicked 8 goals, 4. But looking at this last quarter, you just want to make sure that our contested balls in control, our defence is in a good spot, and our stoppage structures are pretty good. Probably one of the most important things here to focus in the last sort of quarter. With the weather the way it is, ball movement, it's not exactly going to be easy.
And you think about it, I mean, we've had a pretty good summer weather-wise up here in Sydney, so probably a good little hit out for both teams to just get a little bit of wet weather football under their belt.
No, it is. You can definitely go long periods of time without getting wet weather, and playing in Melbourne again this year, it looks like you definitely get 2 or 3 wet days down there. So it's not a bad little one. Hopefully, next weekend when we're playing the Amy Cup, we've definitely got a drier day and just get that part of our game going.
Callan Ward in the ruck there for the Giants. He's transitioned from being the traditional third man up a couple of years ago when it was legal, now going first man up.
Yeah, I think for us, you're trying to look at some versatility here in terms of at the moment Matt Flynn's probably our number 1 ruckman. Unfortunately, Braden Pruce did his shoulder. So we're trying to really balance our lineup. And do you play an extra tall in Kieran Briggs in the forward line, or do you try to pinch it with a Ward and a Finlayson? And this is where Ward is so advantageous, is that if he can do a good enough job in the ruck contest, his stuff at the ground level and around the ground is pretty awesome. So that would obviously be a big benefit.
Swans now with the ball, comes off the boot there of Warner. They're going inside 50, looking for a target up forward. Iden was strong, gets the second chance at the cherry, doesn't bring it in, and affects the tackle, have a ball up deep inside 50 for the Swans.
It's been an exciting period for the backline for us up here at the Giants. Just with, we had obviously Heath Shaw retire, Aiden Core and Zach Williams move on. So we've had some positions, and I think today we've all been pretty impressed with what Isaac Cumming and Connor Iden have been able to do. They look as though they're two players that are positioned to try to fill those spots throughout this year, and Lockie Ash keeps taking bigger and bigger steps to hopefully play that halfback role more consistently throughout the year.
Green with the ball, just inside 50, defensive 50 for the Giants. Not a lot on offer, so goes short. The kick lands in the arms of Shipley. As you said, a lot of changeover of players now going into this fourth term.
Well, Shipley, Sproul and Hutchison got thrown into the game at half time, but have had more game time this quarter, and we'll see some really exciting young players come through from about now, and whether it be Connor Stone, he's looking ready to go, Jacob Ware, they're all getting ready to run around, Kieran Briggs, so we'll start seeing a few more of those faces roll through, which is really exciting.
Of course, as we've mentioned before, we will be just bringing you this final term, and then we won't be covering the last two terms of this scratch match, unfortunately. That was a request of both football departments. So I hope you're enjoying the coverage as it is, and as we've said a couple of times as well, these two teams will meet again next week in the Amy Community Series, and that will be a fantastic time to welcome back crowds to the football. Coming through the middle, good tackle by Jack Buckley. Unfortunately, on that occasion, it was Golden. Just couldn't break the tackle. Two Bulldogs there going toe-to-toe in AFL colours. Two local boys. Would have known each other very well down there at University of New South Wales Eastern Suburbs. Once again, the Giants wanting to just chip around that back line. With Ash. He's got an option out further here with Cumming if he wants to use it. Decides not to. Now he wants to run. We know he likes to do that. Goes across, and we're back in the arms of Buckley. Haven't really made any encroachment on the forward line at the moment.
No, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to manipulate the spare.
Pick up stats, aren't you?
No. The Giants have got a +1 here in the back half, and you're trying to get the ball to them, and unfortunately Sydney have defended that really well, and you end up kicking it long down the line. But it is a very nice time to go stat grabbing when the ball's getting padded around like that.
Wrapped up here, just on half forward for the Giants.
I think, as you said before, we've got young players like Tanner Brunn, but our midfield is the area that, has been a strength for so long. And, you look, it's pretty exciting to see blokes like Tom Green, almost forcing himself as to be a first pick for round one, as well as, the likes of Hopper, Taranto, Kelly, Canilio, and Ward's back as well. I think we can't underestimate how difficult Cal Ward's last 2 years has been, and I think that's a really exciting thing for the footy club. Anytime you do a knee, obviously he missed the 12 months, but it takes time to get back. And then he came back and did a lateral knee, and then he broke his finger. So we're all very excited to have him back in a full-time capacity this year.
Parker goes long. One-on-one contest. Hickey down there does well, brings it in, wrapped up. Just gets a little kick, straight up the mine shaft. Want to get it out into space there was Bell, but it just goes over for a minor score. All right, Phil, have a crack at play-by-play. Here's your time.
Oh, okay. Green takes a mark, uses the handball received to Perriman. Perriman lowers his eyes to Hopper. Hopper's now on the back of the square. Feigns a handball. Handball received to Green. Green goes long down the middle to a one-on-one Finlayson versus McCartan. McCartan slides in front, and back to you, Craig.
You got really nervous then, didn't you?
Oh, well, I didn't know where to go next. But while I'm on the microphone, I want to just a quick shout out to Adam Kennedy, who's just at home. He should be listening to this. And if he's not, I'm very disappointed. But Adam, hope you're feeling a bit better after your little shoulder surgery the other day. Braden's downstairs, so I'd give him a shout out too, but he wouldn't hear me. So just a shout out to little boy Adam Kennedy, and hope he's feeling a bit better.
Yeah. Echo those words. It was shocking to hear the news. but he, as he has been in the past, he'll be back bigger, stronger and better after the little break from footy. Now with Hutchison as the Giants go forward, but not a great kick. And chopped off, I think it's Melican with the ball. Just a little bit of a lull in play at the moment.
This is the point of the game, Craig, where most of the players out there who started are thinking to themselves, I just want to run around, get a few more kilometres and not get touched. And that's sort of that's where they are at the moment. A lot of them are just trying not to hurt themselves.
You just get a little vibe at three-quarter time from your line coach going, all right, have I done enough? Or can I just pull?
Oh, there's probably about 8 players out there, 10 players out there that are locked in for round one, and there's about another 8 that are very confident. And then after that, everyone else is trying to get a game. So you've got a relatively different motivation level at this point, where a lot of the players would be feeling as though it's just been nice to get a run around. And with the longer quarters this year, it's going to be, take a bit of time to adjust again, because it was a significant difference, and just getting the kilometres in your legs to be able to play out a game is going to be very important.
And we just saw there, and Giants fans will be very excited with the young Sam Taylor back out there in the jumper.
Yeah, it's a great story from where he came from. Obviously, that was a pretty scary situation there for a while, but he took his time. He really looked after himself, and it was a very diligent rehab by Sam. And he's obviously an exciting player, and one that we missed in the season last year. I think he only played 3 or 4 games. So very pleasing to see him out there.
Swans go forward now. Plenty of numbers around this one. Nick Haynes just mops up. Buckley quickly on the boot. Now with O'Halloran, he's put on a lot of pressure on him. Ball doesn't come out, and here is Sam Taylor. And so he just goes down the line. And it's wrapped up there. It's Fox. Goes back. And just a little bit of the skills lacking at the moment. Maybe a little bit of tired bodies out there at the moment. Just not giving enough on the kicks. Taranto, he's had a great game this afternoon. Spins around. Hutchison makes the contest. Coming through Bruin, he's taken high. And have the free kick. Goes by hand, gives to Hopper. Hopper inside 50, looking for Sproul. Has the one chance at it, but couldn't bring it down. Once again, the Swans able to defend as the ball goes over the boundary line.
I've been impressed by the Swans back line today. I've got a question for you, Craig. So Braden Campbell's from Pennant Hills. So why wasn't he in the Giants Academy?
I think the academies are based on geographical location. So he may have played Pennant Hills, but lived. And this is interesting because Kieran Briggs was Pennant Hills, but lived in Carlingford, and he was in the Giants Academy in that location.
Gotcha.
So it's not basically based on your team; it's based on your physical address.
Gotcha.
So we'll come back. It was McCartney just tried to get the handball going forward. The umpire having no part of it. Ball's moved. Not a great kick, and it does land in the arms of Daniel Lloyd. And as we learnt, the most accurate goal kicker in the AFL is Daniel Lloyd.
Yeah,
in 2020.
He's my choice. Him or Cal Ward, if I had to have someone kick for my life or kick for anything, I'd be choosing Daniel Lloyd or Cal Ward. It'd be a bit of a flip of the coin.
Let's see how he goes now. He's always kicked one today. He'll kick from about 40.
Oh, Daniel. I still don't understand how the commentator's curse works, considering he can't hear me, but...
Well, we got him.
Yeah, you can see the fatigue and also the slippery ball is definitely making skill execution a little bit lower at this stage of the game.
So talk me through that. I mean, we've heard from both sides that the pre-seasons have been condensed, but they've been absolutely, hard work. So try and explain, Phil, that just that next level when you get to a match situation, how does it sort of manifest itself from a real solid pre-season to your first hit out?
Yeah, it's just the intensity that you have to do everything at. Obviously, in this sort of situation in a game, you're at absolute maximum intensity at all times. And it's just a different level compared to when you're at training. It's fun even at training when you think you're going fast, you're not quite at the same level. And it's just the cumulative toll of the change of direction, the hits, the change of speed and all those things that they get you after a while. And that's the thing that always takes the longest. You know, you can do as many kilometres as you want, but it's that element of change of direction, body contact and all those kind of aspects of the game that you don't get at the same level, which makes an issue when you get to this level. Now, they're feeling the pinch now. You know, they probably run this further in pre-season, but it's just that level of intensity that saps the legs that little bit more.
Yeah. Inside 50 there, for the Giants. The Swans, I think it was Tom McCartan. Nice little touch on his opponent very early in that contest. Worked him under the ball. Sinclair wins this down, but only goes as far as Bruin. Bruin on the right. Wants to dribble this one through. Lloyd doing battle on that occasion with Fox.
Deliberate. And
how the umpire call this one. Just gives him the benefit of the doubt.
Craig, it's a frustrating rule, deliberate.
I reckon it's the only sport in the world where the umpire is asked to work out the intention of a player.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I'd like them to be more brutal on it. And I'm a backman, so I guess that would hurt me more than anyone else.
It's interesting. It used to be the rule, his Flynn goes up for a nice little mark and posterises his teammate in Buckley. It used to be the rule that the umpires were told it if it was their sole purpose or their prime purpose.
And they changed it last year to if you're not making enough effort
to keep it in.
But I think this new man in the mark rule is going to be a great one. I heard there was a bit of furor for some footage the other day that was shown.
Well, we've only seen probably one example of it today.
It's going to take a lot of discipline because your natural instinct is to try to cut the ball off, and that sort of goes against it. But I think the fans will really like it because it's really opened up the ground. I think you're more than likely to be able to hit more kicks through the corridor.
Well, that's what I've seen today is that there hasn't been the long down the line kicks.
Yeah, as really much. Yeah, you've got more options. Where, you know, man in the mark was such an art and spoken about so much, it's sort of been taken out of the game.
Jacob Hopper now with a shot on goal.
There's no chance to ever kick it that far.
The mark taken back there, is that Sinclair?
Yep.
Now in the arms of Fox. Wants to run. Near side here at Giants Stadium. The option there, he was looking for Rowbottom. Rowbottom tackles, and that's a good tackle on Shipley. Gets some assistance now. Shipley's done well as well. And the ball trickles over.
He's someone that came in at half time, and Nick's had a terrific pre-season, sort of playing half-back and wing. And, you know, not many players have got his sort of power and endurance combination, which is something that's very exciting. Obviously debuted, I think it was 2019 against Geelong. And he's developing really nicely.
Flynn in the ruck goes up against Sinclair. So you've got what you'd probably consider first rucks back on each other. Ward goes back to a customary follower role.
I think we spoke about Tanner before, Tanner Bruin. I think one thing you want to see from young players is them getting in the right spot and getting their hands on the footy. You know, the bigger frame he said will help them absorb more and actually take more possessions. But he's got his hands on the ball a lot, which has been very pleasing.
So Finlayson gets into the roundabout of Ruckman. Hops that one in the face. Kennedy at ground level. Works it down this near side. Once it's Taylor. Swans able to clear it. Coming back in defence, Buntime. He gave us a little bit of a scare earlier this afternoon. But good to see him out there.
He's a very, very smart player, mate. He's been very unfortunate in his career with injuries. But he's definitely someone that I can see having a profound impact this year for the Giants in the back half. Just so versatile, doesn't lose one-on-one. So I think he'll be very, very, very close to playing round one.
Sproul gets it across to Iden.
It's probably Iden, Cumming and Buntine, the three of them looking for probably 2 spots at the moment.
Give you a bit of a shout-out, Phil. A lovely piece on the Giants website at the moment with yourself and Connor Iden.
I've got to watch. I haven't quite tuned into that one yet, but I'll
you know you were there.
I was definitely there.
So between them, Ash, Iden and Buckley racked up the possessions this term. So there's an example. That's the long down the line there, which was probably the last option that they were looking at.
Yeah, but it took a while. We were able to move the ball a bit, and I think a lot of that will be this man mark for, which is going to make defending a lot more difficult. I think we'll see a lot more run and carry this year, especially in the middle rounds when boys get a bit sore and whatnot.
So tell me, from your perspective, what was the philosophy behind that rule?
Oh no, I think what's happened is, as the years have gone on, there was a period there where players were fitter, and that meant that players could get to more and more contests. And then what happened was defensive structures came in as well, and led by Alistair Clarkson, and basically they started to really hone in on, obviously the zone was a big thing, but they were very, very good at manning the mark. And I think we try to tinker with a lot of other things, and then they've come back to the fact that if you actually eliminate the man on the mark, which is basically what this new rule does, the ball actually moves a lot. It's a lot easier for the kicker because it opens up probably another sort of a little wedge of about 30 metres.
It's interesting though, because from an outsider's point of view, I mean, if you're the kicker with the ball, if you go back another 2 steps, the men on the mark's negated anyway.
Yeah, it is hard, but what happens is if you go too far back, they've actually got time. If you're going to try and hit a low 45 or anything through the corridor, they're actually very good at picking those off. And if you have to lob them, that gives air time, and with the zones these days. So
good point.
It's going to make a difference. It's not going to be enormous, but I think it'll be a nice subtle change.
James Bell with it for the Swans, drives them inside 50. Plenty of numbers around this contest. Flynn, who's been very good in defence as well as the ruck this afternoon, forces the kick. Perryman just goes with a little chip kick over the top. Umpire's seen a free kick, high contact, and it will come back.
Perryman's the one for me, Craig. He finished third in the best and fairest last year. I'm tipping a similar sort of position in the best and fairest this year again from Harry.
Well, you and Champion Data are alike. I mean, he was listed as the only elite player.
Yeah, he's a terrific player, and I guess the hard thing is the position he plays. He probably isn't as flashy as some of the other players that people might say are elite at the Giants, but he's just a clinical player, and he's versatile. His step one day is to get into the midfield, and he's probably still just biding his time a little bit there, but he'll play a bit of wing, half back, and just bits and pieces in the midfield.
We still do love the fact that he led the Coleman medal for a good chunk of the year. I mean, that chunk of the year happened to be between round 1 and 2. But it'd be exciting to see him as we finish up here in this 4th term at Giant Stadium. And, well, not a great contest in that last term as some tired bodies came out. But we do finish in this 4th quarter with the Swans leading by that 1 point. And
but plenty of light, Craig. That's all you want on a day like today is not too many injuries, but just some run in the legs. If you look at the Swans, they'd be excited to see their early draft picks running around, whether it be Braden Campbell or Logan McDonald, and plus a few others. McCartan keeps looking like he's getting better and better in the back half. Even Joey Kennedy got out of bed this morning and put on a good show again. So, there's lots of like there for the Swans, and from the Giants' point of view, we're very happy with what we've been able to do today. We've got a lot of kilometres and game time into some players, and there's young players like Ash and Bruin and Green look to have taken a step forward, as well as some of the older players, a bit more established with the Hoppers and the Wards playing well too.
You make a very good point, Phil, and we do implore both fans of both sides to jump on the respective websites. Memberships are on sale at the moment, cityswans.com.au, gwsgiants.com.au. It is the only way, really, with a bit of uncertainty as we do go forward in this current time, to make sure you reserve your seat at the respective stadiums, grab a membership, and we look forward to getting the season under. Probably have another game next week, Phil. We look forward to seeing you out there potentially in that one, as these two teams will take each other on again. But a good little hit out here for both sides at Giants Stadium, just to get rid of the cobwebs, get a bit of the footy in the hands, and hopefully build on the round 1 journey.
Thanks to everyone, and see you next Sunday.
Yeah.